Michael, I believe I just moved him to panelist. I'm sorry for that.
He declined. So Michael
Okay.
Goodnow is not on yet, but we're expecting him later tonight.
Great.
For the public and staff attending tonight's study session, we anticipate our first item to take approximately 45 minutes. I would like to now welcome Senior Outreach and Engagement Specialist Tricia Munson and Project Manager Brendan Perko here to present item A1. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Here.
Good, got the right people out there.
So I am one of the Ann Williams on here. I want to share.
Be good for you. We got to. Sometimes we can't hear people on Zoom.
Yeah, once you get your presentation up, sometimes it's difficult for the public to hear.
Sure, you bet. I don't know if I'm able to make this bigger, but
I just want to make sure they can hear.
There we go. Wow.
does that work?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello. Thanks for having us again. Appreciate it. We're happy to be here with members there. We're going to be sharing activities and some updates over the last quarter, and then a couple of things from information that we had ready for January, but we haven't shared it yet. So we felt like it was important to be able to share that. We'll see some dashboards from last month's stakeholders meeting, and also from program's inception. We'll have a dashboard from that. In addition, we'll have some maps and graphs, and we'll get started.
Let's take a
I'm new, so I don't know who you are.
Yes, I'm
so-
Brendan Perko with
Brendan.
Palmer Street Consultants. So I'm a project and program manager there.
Okay.
And this is Tricia Munson.
I'm Tricia Munson, and I work for Common Street Consulting, and I do outreach and engagement here in the city of Bremerton.
Okay, and my name's Rick Tift. So-
Nice to meet you.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet. Okay.
Just a critical question. Is it very different than the slides we received yesterday? Or, yeah, we have a slideshow. I'm just, okay.
I don't know.
I'm gonna just
Sure.
roll with it.
You said it's very different?
Is it fairly different?
Oh, no.
No, I think
No,
it's
no, no.
Perfect.
It should be
Okay.
fine. Yep, sorry about that.
No, sorry.
So yeah, just to start here with our dashboard from, this is, as it says up top, February 10th through March 9th. Our April meeting will be next week. So we are going to for meaningful connections. Again, a reminder, a meaningful connection is some sort of anticipated follow-up, not just an interaction with somebody on site, but some sort of next step. And that was for the month of April to March here. 11 individuals connected to services, 4 individuals connected to shelter or housing, and then on average, each week, about 10 individuals working on next step.
Can you briefly just state what a weekly plan might be?
Sure.
So people who are working on a plan, it's much longer than a week, but each week we average about 10. And those are people who have designated what they would like their next steps to be, or what their end result they would like to be, where what direction they'd like to be headed in, and it's the progress. And also, you know, developing those next steps, being able to change those as things come along. Just working towards what it is that they want next out of services and resources. So that's what working a plan means. Sometimes it can look like washing warrants in 11 counties. Other times it can look like, I mean, it's real. Other times it can look like somebody fleeing DV. Sometimes it can look like somebody who wants to get back into the workforce, and being housed is obviously, you know, better for that. And so it's whatever process needs to happen in order for them to reach their next step and ultimately reach their intended outcome.
You know, in social work circles, you know, we call it, you know, something else. And I just think it's kind of like you're working, it's, you know, social work creative plan too. So yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah, so as folks are getting connected to services, new folks are coming on. So we average at any given moment, a weekly average of 10.
It's great.
And then this is since program's inception, so January 22nd of 2024 through the 9th of last month. So 2,900 on the dot site visits. So that's unique site visits out to, of course, there's many repeat locations as we get reports that come through. 1,323 meaningful connections. Again, more than just an interaction, more than a handshake, more than just a name exchange, but a next step planned and anticipated. 467 individuals connected to services over that time, and then 143 individuals connected to shelter or housing. And you can see that that's a pretty consistent number with the weekly average. It's 10 for the month, and then over the last 2 years, it's about 11 on average per week.
Okay, that's an average, but that's not like you haven't had 11 total on
No,
weekly plan.
That's an average weekly.
Yeah. So if we look at what does it look like every single week, we average over that 2 years about it.
And just a quick question about the data. So you're talking about meaningful connections. I assume that your meaningful connection would also include folks on a weekly plan.
Multiple people. Yep.
Yeah, and you
Or
know how
multiple
many?
visits.
Yeah, do you know how many people? Here's something I'd be interested in. How many goals have been achieved? I don't know. That feels like a really nice metric that I'd like to know about.
For certain, 143 goals have been met because that's how many people we've had since
For sure.
since then into shelter or
Love
housing.
that.
But it's far more than that. Sometimes
Yeah.
people's goal is to get
Well,
into
also
shelter,
connected to
and,
services,
right?
So sometimes that's the goal, is to squash.
Right. To get into next steps. Sometimes it's to get all the way through to their final outcome
Yeah.
of what they would like to see. So some goals might seem smaller,
No, of
insignificant for the individuals, and sometimes they're massive, and so it just depends.
Yeah.
It's always kind of a welcome when people tell me, like, I have this huge barrier in front of me, I don't have an ID, I don't know how to get one, and I'm always like, oh, okay, we can handle that, no
Get that
problem,
one, yeah.
but that's been their biggest stressor
Yeah,
in moving forward
yeah.
to any other thing, and so getting that taken care of is huge for them, and so
And just like on a plan weekly average, and I'll stop with my last question.
That's okay.
But do you know how many people you've had on weekly plan?
I don't know. I probably could get that
There's
for
so much,
you.
so many different
Well-
ways to attack the data, so many different ways,
And-
but
So connected to
Just
services
think
and connected to shelter housing, you're right, it's just a small example of people who have engaged in a plan, but then fallen
Right.
off for some reason. So-
sure, I mean, that's just planting a seed, but
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you for,
But I think that's a good point, though, because then you look at meaningful connections, and most, not all, but most, I think the number was, I think it was 45%. I was looking at it back in January in summary of our last year, but I think it's 40 to 45% of meaningful connections actually get linked to services and housing.
okay,
And so the opposite would be true of
Pretty-
some
pretty
folks
good
who have
data.
fallen off.
okay,
Good question.
falling off, but sometimes you find them again.
Well, sometimes we do.
I mean, that's just
exactly
how
right.
the nature of transient lifestyle, so, yeah, okay, thank you so
Sometimes
much.
it's one, sometimes it's 7, sometimes it takes a dozen interactions with
Thank you.
our next steps. So this one here, I'm going to describe what we have and describe this big spike up front on both of these graphs on the right-hand side, but on the left side, you'll see a map, and each one of those red dots is a report in the city's Bremerton One app. So if I say Bremerton One or Cartograph, I'm using those interchangeably, so it depends on the dynamic of it. So as it gets reported, that's a unique report on the left-hand side marked by red dot. Now, if we tilted that map on its side and look perpendicular at it, some of those would look like stacked poker chips, right? Because you have a red dot represented that might be 10, 20, 30 reports at that same location. So the reason why we have the heat map on the next one is kind of tell the story about that. But on this slide here, you have encampments responded to or reported up top. And then on the bottom graph, you have encampments closed. So the big spike up front where there's nearly 350, I think is 330 reports that came through. That's when we ramped up. You can see in the beginning of 2024, we had started in January, and then by the time we were able to migrate all those, and those came through all at once. That was a very interesting day. It's just when the emails kept coming through, but I was uploading into the system. And I think it was important to tell the tale instead of eliminating that from this. We had a tighter graph because we had to suss through hundreds of reports to see which ones were duplicate, what were unique, which ones were more urgent, less urgent, which ones were kind of historical. So we did that, as you see on the bottom graph. We worked quickly to resolve those, all the while more reports coming through. kind of got a handle on that, you see in kind of late April up at the top here, and then really work through closing out some of those duplicates and some of those reports to get to right around May or June, where you see the consistency of closed reports that closely mimic the reported items on top. So as you see here, working through this first line here is 50. So we kind of cap out at 50 a month, which is a very high month. It's a busy month. On average, we noticed through 2025, we get about 20 to 25 non-duplicate reports. So we might get 50 or we might get 35, but 10 or 15 of those might be duplicates. So 20 to 25 on an average month, and that's pretty consistent across the board for the last year and year and a half.
It's interesting that we have a lot that are Bremerton addresses, but not in city limits. So how are we getting those? Are people just downloading the Bremerton One app, even though they don't live in Bremerton?
So anyone who can download the app or report through if they're seeing something or driving through, they'll report it if they're in the region. So
Interesting.
But we're only,
It's kind of like the Bainbridge, Bremerton ferry ticket. Yes.
oh, yeah.
So something else I noticed about the data is like the closed will follow pretty closely after reported.
Yeah.
And what does that mean when it says closed, encampment closed?
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Sure. So that could be any number of things, right? So it could be there's dumping or there's when we get this, of course, through Bremerton One, you can report all sorts of things in the city, but these specifically are encampment related. So if somebody sees a tent, a tarp, sleeping bag, debris, and they assume it might be an encampment, they'll report that. So then we go out, we evaluate. If there's individuals on site, we'll make contact, start to offer resources, start to work a plan. Or it could just be there was a tarp and some garbage and people assumed it was a camp. So we report that, we get that cleaned, and Public Works might go out and take care of that. Or if it's an old abandoned encampment, we'll work to coordinate that on a deeper level.
So when it says encampment, it may or may not be an actual encampment that's closed. Is it just encampment closed mean encampment report closed?
Yeah, so we close it when the issue is resolved. So if it's dumping, once it's cleaned, if there's an encampment of 4 people, this doesn't get closed until folks have been offered services. We go through the whole posting process. We make sure everything's right with the city legal, make sure everything's in line. We've offered services. People have either got linked up with services or they declined services. Then we go through, once it gets cleaned, once we get the report back.
And also just to note, when people decline services, there's always a reason. People don't, it's very rare that people decline services because they really don't want help. That's not generally what we see. There's a reason. And so we do spend the time to figure out what that reason is and to see if there's some other way that we could bring some sort of resources or get them some sort of support for whatever situation is that they're in. So
so I'm just not
yeah.
interested, really doesn't
we
work.
we don't go out and say, would you guys like resources? And if somebody says no, we're like, okay, they don't want help. That's not how it is. We continue to figure out why. Like, well, because you're the 8th outreach worker that's been here and no one's done anything yet, or because I have a warrant and I don't feel like I can get help, or I'm not here legally and I don't qualify for things. And so we always try to figure out what the underlying issue is there with people being hesitant or not wanting services, because it's really not that they don't want services. It's sometimes there's been a rough time ahead of that with services. So
yeah.
So to follow up on Jennifer's question, I'm wondering if, in order to communicate what it really is, it maybe you could change the title of it on that particular aspect. Encampment reports closed. That's a much different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I very much appreciate the fact when you said you outed yourself as including, you wanted to include that big spike, right? And I was already appreciating it. Anything like this should tell a story. And if you didn't include that first part, you wouldn't be telling the whole story. And that is not what we need. We need the full story. And looking at these graphs, they're very telling. Thank you. I do think it would be helpful for the public and for council, as you're telling me the story. You just told me the story, but I don't see it in like bullet points. later on or before you get to the next meaty aspect of this, if you could cover your story, it's like looking at a financial statement. You tell a story on the financial statement, right? And you do the same thing with this. You did it beautifully. I would just like to see the public be able, somebody's going to be able to read this. Some people are going to be able to read this and know the story, but some people may not. So it's helpful. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate your question and how we kind of got into that a little bit. Yeah.
Um, So, speaking of story, so the tale that this tells is the unique reports in red. Bless you. And then the next slide is an attempt, and I'm going to go back and forth because you can see the switch up here. So the unique reports here, well, what are the clusters? Of course, we can see the darker red. But, then as we move here, we see in blue sort of the heat map here. The scale, the city tool is actually a good tool, and we've worked really close with Bruce and with Marley and David Buffington to be able to figure out what parameters we want to show. So the ranges can differ, and we can have different colors and concentrations, but we just kept it big here on purpose on this one because it shows sort of where the clusters lie instead of just the unique reports, the onesies and twosies, as we would say. But you show the clusters, and then of course it's no surprise we see a hot red cluster right in the middle here through downtown. So that's the only difference. The two graphs on the side, on the top and bottom, are the same.
So when somebody complains that there's somebody sleeping in their car in front of their house, is that listed as an encampment?
So that's a great question. So I'm actually going to be talking about our kind of partnership and collaboration with In Park.
Okay.
And so if you wouldn't mind, can I address that?
Yep, address it later.
That's a great question. But yes, so if someone perceives that to be an encampment and somebody's sleeping in the car, they will report that.
I wonder, is this the terminology that you have to use for the contract language, or can we make it a more, I mean,
Are you talking about encampment?
encampment, the term
Yeah.
encampment's closed, encampment reports closed.
Yeah.
I just would love to see if we can work on the language on that,
Yeah,
right? I don't know. I
Sure.
don't know, just in a,
we
Or
can
to
make this
pull out more,
for whatever, whatever.
if encampment is a legal term that's referenced for your contract language or a specific definition, I understand, but
or maybe the definition could be noted.
yeah.
There's some
If
of
it
that.
is,
Yeah,
then
maybe we can
in
clarify.
parentheses,
Sure.
and that way, when we have that question, it's
Yeah.
answered.
Well, and we could even talk about, individual perceived to be
Uh-huh.
experiencing homelessness or perceived unhoused or something like that.
Just real quick, I just want to say it's so nice to have data too. I think, like, I'm a data nerd. I think I have a lot of data nerds who are my
Yeah.
colleagues, and we just really appreciate the data points that you're providing that we have
Absolutely.
never seen before.
Yeah,
So thank you.
And
absolutely.
it's kind of like an infographic.
Oh, she loves her.
gosh, I
graphics.
Just saying,
Infographics.
just
Oh,
saying.
it gets better, Denise.
They were.
Oh, I get
There you go.
All right, we'll start with that. So this, again, telling the same story a different way, but I think the unique look here, again, you see the dump up front and working through all that, but I think if you just notice the spike, we could say that, we could say, well, yeah, it spikes when the warm weather comes out, and we see a lot of activity because it's nicer weather. And, without even looking at this, anywhere where we work, we say it's nicer weather, folks come out, there's a peak, there's a spike, and then it rolls back down. There's a smaller spike in the fall and in the winter, early winter, when people are reestablishing, saying, oh, wet weather, cold weather is happening. So it's literally the same across the region as we look at these numbers, but you can see it here again after the massive slog and dump. You have a slow peak and then a decline, and then it happens again here. Sometimes it happens earlier, sometimes it happens later. You can see May, June, and July are it's just kind of a cluster where that will go up, it ramps up, and then ramps back down. So that's the story there on top of the data dump. So now what I'll do is I'm going to hand it to Tricia for these kind of 2 bullet points, and then she's going to talk through some of the activities that have happened in outreach and engagement, some of the resources and services.
So we are continuing to get people linked up to long-term services or long-term resources. The thing that we always remember in doing this is that we're I'm the Uber driver. You tell me where you want to go, and it's my job to get you there as quick and safely as possible. I know where you're at, and you tell me where you want to go. We're met with continual challenges in every community that we work in, but a lot of the challenges have become harder with funding, with national funding, federal funding, with HUD, with criteria for certain things, with decrease in available substance use beds or treatment facilities. All of those things play a part in getting services. They all play a part in people being able to get what they need in the amount of time that they feel like they have to get them done. I recently have been working on a situation here in Bremerton. I'm not kidding you. This individual had warrants probably out of 11 different areas, counties, and cities across the state. And we can't do much of anything until we get the majority of those taken care of. And most of them are not call or Zoom. Most of them are up here in person, and you don't know if you're going to go to jail, and you don't know what that looks like. And they'll be clean and sober a year next month, or this month, now that it's April. And
Unhoused and.
no, they're in transitional housing right now, and they're working through a program. And so, but being able to continue to lead them to the right direction or to offer that support. People don't think about those challenges. So that's one aspect of the challenges. Another one is, some of the HUD funding that was cut, vouchers, things like that, makes it exponentially difficult to get people into certain projects or programs based off of vouchers. Criteria has changed. There is a agency in another county that I work with routinely. It's a low barrier housing option, and they are now requiring an additional $1,200 eviction deposit when somebody moves in. So now we don't have just first, last, and month, but now we also have to do an additional $1,200 because that's the standard fee for an eviction. And because the eviction rates have gone so high. So there's all sorts of barriers that come forth that people don't think about or don't quite see. Transportation has been amazing out here with our help from G2. That has worked out so miraculously.
Let's hear it.
I will tell you that one of the most challenging cases, and if I say too much, it would definitely identify who I'm speaking of, but we have two older individuals that have been homeless down on MLK for a long time. And they are legally married, and they just challenge after challenge, both need caregivers. Long story short, we had gotten services set up with DSHS Home and Community Services, and it wouldn't have happened without G2. One was at one location the morning of the assessment, one was at the other location, and neither one were where they were supposed to be, but we figured it out, and I was able to call G2 back and say, hey, we have to make this additional stop. So that was the first part of January, and we were able to coordinate with G2 and let them know of the change, and they quickly were able to go to the next location to pick up the second part of that party. And within 5 days of that day, they got housed into an adult family home, which means they met that level of care that they needed, full-time caregiving. And so I talked to her today. I talked to one of the individuals in that partnership today, and they're doing great. They have found a church they love. They are both healthy. The reason they called me is to say, hey, they're in a different county, and they said, hey, since we've been clean and sober, now we're gaining weight, we need clothes. Do you know where we might get some assistance with clothes out here? So what a great problem to have, right? I can help in those instances, right? We've had a lot of support with Adult Protective Services. We've had a lot of support with Home and Community Services with DSHS recently to get some of our most vulnerable individuals and elderly folks out of being homeless. And so those cases take a little extra time. They take a lot of extra advocating also. And so we also have had a couple situations where people have been able to go back to work or go back to school. I have one individual that's actually going to start spring quarter here pretty soon. And they were able to, with some help from some awesome community partners, do their FAFSA, and they were able to get living expenses as part of the grant. And so now they're going to be able to go to school and be able to kind of get things back on track for themselves with an allotment of money for rent. And so they're moved in and ready to go. And it's so much fun to be able to gather school supplies for someone. So that's, we continue to have great partnerships. I can't say enough good things about lots of partners in Bremerton. Benedict House has been absolutely amazing. We've had some wild adventures together, but Janae and Whitney are absolutely killing it over there. Much appreciated. Don, Michelle, and Jocelyn continue to be excellent advocates in the community and to continue to send referrals. Marwan has hooked us up with some individuals to help coordinate services and to be able to connect with some individuals who might want some help. Salvation Army continues in the midst of everything that's happened in their realm, but they've continued to be great partners, helping however we can, helping each other. Both real teams have been magnificent. So there have been a lot of good things and a lot of good partnerships that are continuing to happen. And every time things get a little more tough, and every time we see something that blows our mind, which I always say I've seen it all, and then the next day, like, I should learn not to say that because the universe will show me something I haven't seen, and I don't often want to see it. They'll continue, people pivot and they adjust and they adapt. The BPD mental health navigators have been phenomenal. So lots of successes. To the point that, generally speaking in my career, and this is my own personal opinion, not that of Common Street, APS is not always the most responsive. They've been amazing out here in Bremerton, absolutely phenomenal. And so I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have people that will respond and will follow up and follow through. So I think that there's a lot of good to be done, and continue to be done. So
We have a little smaller community than the other ones you serve too, so maybe it's, I don't know, there's benefits to that,
Well, and I hope the agencies hear what you're saying. We have no reason not to believe this. This is, you'd be telling truth to power here, and to get feedback like this on your relationships with our local community-based organizations is really good to hear. I know that Marwan is listening in, now. So Marwan, I hope you're hearing all of these, commendations here. We sure appreciate the work the community does.
More to G2, like, they deal with some of the most downtrodden and suffering individuals and individuals with some of the highest barriers. And it doesn't matter what driver I get, they've been amazing. Like, they're so great with them. And so it's really awesome. I will also tell you that we do speak fondly of Bremerton and other areas. I have agencies that I've worked with for over 15 years that heard about the Salvation Army closing, and that first Wednesday, they called me and said, Trish, we're going to be on that street in 15 minutes. We brought dinner to serve people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they came all the way from like the Graham Eatonville area to come out here and serve on the MLK sidewalk. And so I think that, there's a lot of partnership that can happen cross county lines, the collaboration and the coordination of things. So I think that that's important to recognize as well. But yeah.
The council has an ad hoc committee on housing homeless population. And I'm encouraged, the city and the county working more closely together now that the county has its plan out, and each municipality and jurisdiction is, trying to figure out what its role should be. Bremerton's been playing quite a role for quite a long time. And we're very much looking forward to involving other jurisdictions and municipalities in this work, because it can be so rewarding, right? These stories, I remember, it is rewarding. It makes up for everything else. And so I really hope that your stories and your report, really proves to other municipalities and areas that it can be done. Come join us, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But thank you, Trish.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Nope. Things are constantly changing. We constantly have to get creative. We are constantly figuring out better ways to serve individuals, what resources will work, what we need to do to make other resources that aren't working work. But the two things that we need is we need basic needs being met, and we need to make sure that we don't continue to do things that aren't working. Like, we have to pivot and adjust as things adjust. And so I think that's one of the most important things that we can do to figure it out. I do also, Bremerton recently got a new judge, and I want you to know that I have multiple individuals right now that probably would not have cleaned their act up had that judge not stepped in, to be honest with you.
And that's History.
Yes,
that's true.
and so sometimes it might feel a little like, "Ooh." I sat in a different courtroom at a neighboring county, well, no, neighboring city, and I watched, I don't know, 11 or 12 cases be heard, and every time someone would come up, well, we didn't get this done, we didn't get this done, we didn't get this done, and they're like, okay, we'll do a continuance. One of them was from 2023, and we're sweating it with my guy and like thinking he might go to jail because he has still one outstanding warrant, and like we're sweating it pretty big. And the court actually said like, we'll follow suit with what Bremerton's going to do with their open case on this individual, because you guys, like, Bremerton has some great resources that they're working. And I don't think a couple of the individuals that I'm currently working with would have actually cleaned it up without that sort of follow through, and knowing in all the years, I guess it's been what, 2, 3 years that I've worked out here. It was not until this new judge was appointed that I have ever seen him take anyone into custody in the courtroom in Bremerton. And I've seen it happen a couple times now. And I think that that has kind of let people know like there are options. There is a community court program. Alexis is the new probation person. And so people know, and also like when you call Alexis, she answers and she provides resources and she hears you and she helps kind of navigate those challenges and barriers, and that helps people to want to fix what's going on. And so I think that that's been a positive. It took me a little getting used to, you get used to one way and then a little bit stricter. And so, but I think it's been good. And you can see the prosecutors really wanting to work with individuals, to make sure that it's beneficial to people long-term, and also the city, that you're finding that common ground of not just enforcement, but also quality of life and improvement and change, so that we don't have the same people coming in the courtrooms. So I think that there's been a lot of good that has come out of it. And all of us can learn to pivot and adjust and adapt, and we're all allowed to change our mind or our opinion about things. So
That's really good to hear that
Yeah.
you have a positive change down there.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll have to check with legal at some point and ask how it's going from their perspective.
Thumbs up.
Good. Hey, thanks for being willing to say that. So Gary Hersey is here and giving him the thumbs up. So I know that this whole council feels, especially those of us who have been around for a little while, have gone through it. That's just wonderful to hear. Yeah.
Well, kind of in closing here, maybe on our final dissent. So kind of back to reporting, you can see the last bullet point here. Every report responded to and resolved via cartograph, Bremerton 1, email, proactive monitoring, et cetera, alleviates pressure from many city employees and teams. So one, I think it's important to acknowledge the burden that is being shouldered, but then also it's a point to shout out streets, public works, parks, PD, code enforcement, everyone else that is on those monthly meetings that every single day does such a great job coordinating, communicating. They really, if the job can be made easier, they make it a lot easier, because it could be a lot more challenging if we didn't have good communication and good coordination. So shout out to all the different city departments. It's wonderful, and it's a well-oiled machine in terms of turnaround, coordination, and communication. I would say, along with reporting, so we talked about car camping a little bit. So car camping, we saw a pretty sizable spike months ago in car camping, and it was noticeable. It wasn't just like, oh, it went up a little bit. It was a spike. Since then, it's dropped. It hasn't dropped back down from what it was before the spike, but it has leveled off. And so I think that's worth reporting. I don't know if you have any comments on the car camping. That's put you on the spot, but there's some unique activities.
I've heard from people that some of the churches have stepped up and just having small, not regulated, but taking care of a few people here and there. So with the car camping, giving them a safe place. So I hope even more.
it's a very achievable, workable program. Like, there are programs all over the state that are working really well at doing it. It's just figuring out how to make that happen here in your community. And
Well, some of them are already doing it.
yeah, so common
They just don't
yeah.
want us to know their names.
Right. And I will say that, when we talk about specifically with individuals who are working or individuals who are experiencing EV, or individuals who have some unique medical challenges, like a car is literally life-saving for them.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
having that to be that availability, that it can be a really great thing. So
Along with that, so really good partnership established with Impart. So one of the things that we're able to utilize in Cartograph Bremerton One is, typically when there's an encampment or a perceived individual experiencing homelessness, that comes to us, and we really can't see anything else because we really don't need to see anything else that's reported through the app because it's not of our concern. It's another department. However, we were able to partner with the reporting mechanism to where parking enforcement and Common Street is now on the same page and we're up to date with our reports.
Good.
So the reason why that's incredibly helpful is when parking enforcement goes out, we get up to date notes and summaries now, whereas before we didn't. So this is recent and it's been incredibly helpful. And it actually might have helped with that spike, bring it back down because it was ramping very hard. Similarly, when parking enforcement goes out, they see our summaries and our latest touch points. So they don't have to guess or assume or loop back around or send an email and then get the summary and what's the most up to date on this. They can decide real time and so can we. So I can't stress enough, that's a huge help to both parking enforcement and our team.
I will also say that when we see parking ramp up, the majority of the time that has ramped up because evictions have ramped up. Usually when we see people who are living in their vehicles, it's because they've been evicted.
Yeah.
And so that's a good indication that the evictions are.
So are you aware of our city ordinance that only licensed landlords can legally go through evictions with people?
Or
Yeah.
registered.
They have to be
Yeah.
landlords have to be registered. Tenants do have some rights in cities, so I'll make sure that you get that information.
I think what happens oftentimes is, at least in my experience and working with some of the individuals here, is that people are renting a room from someone or because that's all they can afford or because that's where they meet criteria, because criteria is so hard to meet. And however, people don't know that. And so they just know that they don't want the police called. They don't want to go to court. They don't want to get in trouble. And so if somebody comes to them and says, well, I'm going to evict you if you don't do this, this, or this. And so they just leave because.
Did you say that would still apply?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Except in the case that if I'm like my son pays rent at my house.
Right.
That's not, I don't have to get a license for that, but if we're renting a room out, you still need to have a landlord
Right.
license. But I understand the barriers you're talking about. People want to stay off the radar.
right. And that is
Yeah.
the biggest thing. We also did see a little jump in people who thought they had been evicted and they hadn't. There was some, some property management companies, some housing agencies have their check-in apps online now. And when we're dealing with some populations that may not be super experienced with computers, some don't even own computers. They're intimidating and they just know that they missed their review or their check-in and they didn't want to get evicted, so they moved out. And so we had to go do some damage control and say, hey, like you can move back in, like you didn't get evicted. We have to do this check-in, and then figuring out that balance with some of the folks that are using these computer generated check-ins and such, the portals online, so that our folks that aren't computer literate or computer savvy or have access to that still can do their check-ins and not face that. Yeah, one of the ladies was a little over 80 years old and she just doesn't have a computer and she just knew she didn't want a bad mark on her credit. So she just said, well, I just figured I'd leave. And
I could care less what my credit is when I'm 80, but
Right.
it's me. Well, part of our tenant ruling too is to help people report an unsafe living condition too. I mean, there's been some horrendous rentals that are really unsafe, and there's a way to help those people move into a safer place financially.
Placement.
And I've seen quite a few municipalities go. Most places have eviction prevention, but that does require you to be in default. That does require you to have a pay or vacate notice. And so we're seeing quite a few areas surrounding you guys that have gone to splitting that program to eviction prevention and homelessness prevention. So that if somebody knows that they're behind for some reason, somebody is facing that challenge, it doesn't get to the point of an eviction, which uses tons of resources and extra money that honestly could be used to help catch someone up on rent or on whatever the situation is. And so that having that homelessness prevention has made a big difference in some of the surrounding areas.
We want people living in safe places. too,
Correct.
Which our ordinance does help that if people know how to use the ordinance. If they're
I'll
aware of
look into it. I'll learn more about it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And just real quick, you talked about like there was a ramp up of people in their cars. Are there, okay. Are there situations where clumps of these cases are seen all at once, you know, or where the orders are filed all at once? Not necessarily by the same property manager, maybe the court system has processed a bunch of them that are sitting on the same day. Is that kind of why there's a ramp up? And
I think that we saw quite a spike in it when some of the federal funding changed with HUD and vouchers and things were pulled
Okay.
back. And then it seems to happen
batches.
in batches. Honestly, I think what happens is people start to price people out of renting their rooms, or maybe people aren't
Okay.
getting the right services that they need or would benefit from while they're renting a room or something. And so maybe some of the behaviors become problematic. And so then you have an issue. Instead of being able to figure out how to resolve that issue, they just, move people along or make them move out. And this goes back to what you're saying about the code, you guys, is that then people do get in trouble. Like there's a code case that happens, or there's something that's brought to light, and so they're illegally renting to somebody, or they're subletting a place that's not even theirs. And so that happens very quickly because they don't want to be in any more trouble. They don't want to deal with code enforcement or public works. They don't want any of the problems that can come along with it. And so now they've let, 6 people live in their basement. Something happens, fire gets called. Now everyone's got to move out because fire got involved because there's some situations, maybe a house fire or something, and they should have never had anybody living in the basement. So it kind of goes back to what those rules are and those codes are there to protect. And it's just getting more awareness and to make sure people know they have rights.
So just to move us, I love the stories and I love what you're sharing, like with trends and things like that. And that moves us into that data, which I love. The remarkable thing, I think, about this service as it's provided to a municipality is not only what you do with those that are homeless, it's also that you serve every department that we have.
Mhm.
And that relationship between you and Parks, you and Public Works is crucial. I mean, it's a crucial benefit to the city and how we operate. I hear that from various directors. So thank you. I think the model of what you do is of great benefit to us. And I would love to hear more information about that, like, how many referrals from Parks or how many, just to see. I've always been interested in the impact of this problem on various departments, just in the normal, day. And I'd love to see that quantified more with some data.
No, thank you. I'm looking at 5:45 here, so I'm trying to be careful with the time, but I just wanted to say I would say the last kind of thing would be the closing of the day shelter has led to a more dispersed activity, so less concentrated amounts, but more dispersion. We're seeing two primary clusters due to proximity would be the ferry terminal and then more in Apple Wakefield. So that's probably no surprise to anyone at the table, but just that amount of activity really hasn't gone away necessarily, but it's just been dispersed because of the
So
services.
even though they don't appear to be offering a lot of services, the Rejuvenation Center is open. So that's something that we could suggest to people that especially on bad weather days.
I am not sure how recent that information is. When I did speak to the Rejuvenation Center about 3 weeks ago, they actually are closed. It is now a barber apprentice program, is my understanding.
Oh, it's been that off and on.
But they do not have open hours. Like I've gone up there multiple times.
It's often closed. Often.
So we've not been able to facilitate anybody being there. I would, I would love to be able to do that, to have people be able to go there. But unfortunately, and I'll continue to reach out, Jane, or if you have somebody I can talk to specifically.
Yeah,
but we've not been
our
successful.
state rep, Tara Simmons was talking with some of the board members, and so
They
There
told
was-
her they were open.
They're looking
The-
for state funding.
they're looking for more funding,
Yeah.
but
So they
they
haven't
had. But when I went there, they said that they were helping people fill out applications for KCR.
Yeah, definitely can look into it. But
Let's give them some business.
I still don't have, I still don't have someplace that we can tangibly send people for daytime services,
Yeah.
mostly a restroom and.
Place to rest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
hear
you very much. It's a great presentation.
Yeah, we always look forward to hearing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any
All right.
questions? Okay.
And the cat didn't have to say a word.
Now it's there.
You
Isn't that
know?
amazing?
As you
Don't
work
you
out.
love the people that are doing the data? Yeah. Remember all those years we were like, where's the data? And here it
There
is.
we go.
Love it.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
you.
Okay, now we're gonna go to agenda bill briefings. I'd like to welcome Fire Chief Pat McGanny here to present item B1.
Good evening, council. How are you?
Good evening.
Well, this is a quick issue. Before you is the appointments of the committees to write statements for and against the Libby Lid Lift committees.
Consent. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it took a little bit to get to you. We gave them a week, so I've got everything up this morning. So the appointment would include Allison Roeder, Julie Warner, and Al Duke writing the statement for, and then appoint Roy Runyon is writing the statement against.
So I have a question about that. If other people want to join either the for or the against, do they just get in touch with the appointed people?
So the three that were appointed were the three that we got in the timeframes to get it to council. If they wanted to be against, they can contact the county in between now and.
So they have to formally be appointed to write?
Well, this
It'll
is,
Be
Right.
the statement.
this would be the statements for in the
Right.
ballot language, yes.
Okay,
That council has to formally do that.
okay.
That's what we're doing, right?
All right, how do you want to
Consent.
treat this, consent or general business?
I'm fine with consent unless somebody.
Okay,
Thank you.
next I'd like to welcome Mayor Greg Wheeler here to present item B2.
Right. Good evening, council. You see the, I think the agenda and obviously the packet involved explains most of the qualifications and my reasoning behind requesting from you a double bump after 1 year of Dr. Briggs being in as a city's diversity and community engagement manager. So, she's, as this is a new position, and in fact, one that I have not seen another one like it as far as community engagement and diversity combined together, to step in and create something from scratch, this much volume of work, quality and volume, I felt it was appropriate to ask for an additional bump.
Do we have discussion?
I don't see this as a large impact to our overall budget. I think that some folks might agree that we need to look at every dollar and cent, but it's less than 3,000 annually. That's the fiscal impact. I'm on board with it.
Because, I have oh, did anybody else? I'm
No,
sorry.
you're next.
I'm wondering, is this in some ways trying to catch up to what we should have paid her at the beginning? We're, you know, I've been through many hiring processes where you have to start a little low, and I've been assured by my employer, and it usually turns out. So I just wondered about that, if that's part of this.
There was no, and I appreciate that question. There was no prior agreement to do this, although there's an assurance that if there's exceptional work demonstrated, I would support this. We recently had an individual from the legal office who got a double bump. We were able to justify the exceptional performance, and so we've done it. And I like to encourage. I think we all agree we like a culture where we can reward where we can.
I guess my next question then would be kind of adjacent to that, and that's, will this have any impact on others in city employment? What I'm trying to be conscious of is whenever something like this comes before us, sometimes it can have like a domino effect, or can cause a little resentment, with misunderstanding, or whatever. So I feel compelled whenever we get these now to just ask the question. It's almost like, is it cool with everybody? It's how does this sit with the rest of everything else you manage, Mayor?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. Due to the uniqueness of this position and starting at a level 1 with the qualifications of a PhD and the experience level, I haven't heard any rumblings.
Yeah.
And so, part of Dr. Briggs, what she's doing with the Bremerton think tank and the community engagement hub, is to bring people together to air out things that are bothering them. And she's creating a safe space. She has done that. So maybe if something was to come out, that might not be the place that, even for a safe space, that might come out. But there could be, if this was to bring up other issues in departments where folks feel like they haven't been appreciated, then we want to hear about it. And I think it is for sure. And we want to reward when we can.
Thank you for that response. Yeah.
Christy?
Yeah.
So when I was campaigning last year, I went about it a different way because I felt I needed to catch up with understanding kind of what city council did and get myself out there, not just by name, but to learn things. And I cannot tell you how many events in odd places throughout all of Kitsap County that I would go to, and Dr. Briggs was either there or she was a speaker at them. Yeah. And it was mind-blowing every time. I feel like I couldn't count the number of events that I went to that, I'm telling my family, I wanted this thing and I'm not quite sure why I'm there. And I would go and Dr. Briggs was there. Yeah. And you were like, oh my gosh. And I'm just trying to put together all the pieces of how things fit together. Her attendance at functions outside of what I would expect her 9 to 5 to be was incredible. And so that's something that, when you're looking at rewarding something like that, it's just, to me, this was a no-brainer of, yes, the amount I looked at and I was like, that amount we can, and for who the individual is, when you're talking about what they deserve and that secondary.
It's a bargain.
I was going to say, yeah, it's been something. I've seen her out in the community and I've seen all the things that she's done when I was outside of this chair, and it's very impressive.
Well, Dr. Briggs has helped me a lot with my job and helped our office. She engages almost daily with our legislative office manager and assistant. So she's very helpful. She gives us great ideas and she's fun to work with. So she's gone beyond what I even expected that the position could do. I think she's a real asset to the city, and I'm really glad we hired her. And I do believe that she deserves a double bump.
All right.
Is there any other conversation? Okay, how should we do this? Consent or general?
I would like consent.
I would say consent.
This is an HR.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, I would like to welcome City Prosecutor Gary Hersey here to present items B3, B4, and B5. Welcome.
Oh, this is the one we heard about the litter bag.
Yeah,
Big stuff happening.
big stuff, pretty exciting, yeah?
I still keep one in my car.
Good. Did I scare everyone last time?
Yes,
I've
fraction of
always
a
kept
second.
one.
The enforcement rate is low, because I still don't have a trash bag.
Extremely
I'm just-
well.
And
You
I've been
just
breaking
called yourself out.
I've
Okay.
been breaking the law, and I actually asked people, what
Stop
is
I can't give you
enforcement
legal
rate?
advice, but.
Yeah. No
Until
trash bag.
next week.
Yeah.
When.
No trash bag. Sans trash bag in my car.
So, thank you for having me. Is it always this hot in here?
Yes.
Yes,
Wow.
it's
Okay,
either. hot or
Only if
cold.
you're in
You.
that chair.
We generally wear full suits here.
Yeah, yes, it is warm. It's actually cooled down since we first came in.
Yeah, well, either way,
All
so
over the story.
I know it's a big agenda. I'll keep it fast. So I'll start with the first one. It's a code we're proposing be adopted. It's called misuse of 911. So this would be a brand new code. It's not something that's in the RCWs, but it is something that has been adopted in various forms by different cities throughout the state. Spokane, Snoqualmie, Redmond, Pasco, Okanagan County, Mukilteo, Kelso, Enumclaw, a bunch of these cities have adopted similar codes as this. And the reason for this is in the revised code of Washington, if someone were to call in a false bomb threat here right now, that is obviously a crime, right? That would be false reporting at a minimum. So that one's easy. What you don't have an easy legislative answer for is someone just calling 911 to chat or to drunkenly rant and rave, whatever it may be. You've seen it all.
Calling
No.
fireworks complaints.
Well,
that's.
They won't take them.
I'm not touching that one.
Yeah.
I know.
That's another-
I don't suggest.
That's coming,
We-
that's
don't wanna
coming through
derail
public
us.
safety probably right now.
Every year.
Any fireworks chats. But no, so to give an example, last April, we had someone call 911 and within the city of Bremerton 200 times.
Okay.
The maximum was, I think, 85 or 86 times in one day. I spent a long time listening to a lot of those calls. The Bremerton Police Department said, "Hey, Gary, is there anything you can charge here?" The answer was no, because it wasn't a situation where there was any kind of like crime being reported. It was literally, sometimes it was just calling to chat. Sometimes it was, yeah, just drunken ranting and raving. And despite being told many times by the dispatch operators, please stop calling. Nope, kept calling. And even when police went to her door and told her, still kept calling. So this is the kind of thing, it doesn't happen often, but every now and then it does happen. And when it does happen, it is a big drain on resources, not only for kids at 911, but inevitably police have to go out, sometimes fire have to go out, depending on how incoherent the call is. And it takes away a lot of resources. This is not something I would ever be eager to charge, but frankly, this is something, if you have a law enforcement officer coming to the door and saying, please, you need to stop doing this unless you have a legitimate emergency you're trying to report, this is something you can be arrested for. And what we've written, which is pretty much taken from other jurisdictions, we didn't really want to reinvent the wheel here, is it would make it a simple misdemeanor to commit the crime of what's called misuse of 911, and that's in the packet. And notably, what we've included in this proposal is an affirmative defense. If someone does have anything resembling a good faith, reasonable belief that the reason they're calling is somewhat legitimate, even if completely mistaken. That way, it's really meant to be narrowly tailored to those circumstances where there is no legitimate public safety issue as to why you would be calling one over and over again.
So wouldn't somebody who's doing that have a mental health problem?
A lot of times, yes.
So along with charging them, they would be referred, or KMH would be contacted to try to
They
assist.
get hooked into some kind of service.
Yeah, and exactly. So that's already happening in these cases. So
Mhm.
when, I see police reports like this, and again, it is pretty rare, It will be forwarded to my office, KMH, to navigators, to every possible resource. And this is very much meant to be a last resort.
Okay.
From my perspective, I'm not interested in charging a bunch of these, and they don't happen often.
What level of misdemeanor is this?
It is the standard misdemeanor, so 90 days rather than gross misdemeanor.
So are the other municipalities that are within SAP 911's jurisdiction also going to bring an ordinance like this?
Not that I know of, but I would suspect they would be interested in it based on people I've heard from at Kitsap 911. I think this is just something that we've seen enough here in Bremerton that officers have asked me to consider drafting something.
Well, Jennifer and I and the mayor are all on the board of Kitsap 911, so we can forward that to our fellow board members too.
I am still a little, I'm sorry, Rick has a hand up. May I go after Rick?
Go ahead, Rick.
You actually brought up my issue. How do you distinguish between a Bremerton resident? Because the 911 is consolidated, right? They're taking calls from across the county. So somebody calling from Rocky Point or a portion of the city that's the geography.
Mhm. Right up Riddle or something, yeah. It wouldn't be a crime there unless
Right.
this was something that was,
But you can tell where they are.
oh yeah, yeah. So that's
Even on a cell
the
phone?
part of the first role of dispatch is to determine which jurisdiction is the appropriate
Right.
agency to respond.
That's because that would be my,
Yeah.
is distinguishing the location of the caller.
If only we could use their services and all the other ways that we were needing to distinguish between city and county,
I
right?
know. Huh?
But the Kitsap 911 is, it's, I mean, electronically, but by address, yeah.
Nice to see you, Michael.
So fun, yeah, this is the latest. We know, sorry.
Just a phone, a cell phone gives you a location, but not an address.
Yes, and I mean, yeah,
You
they'll,
pinpoint the location.
yeah, and that's usually, well, it's often one of the very first questions they'll ask, where are you calling from? What's your current address? And you can always ping cell phones to determine the exact location.
And they ask you if you're on a cell phone or a landline.
I think I'm not the best person to ask, but I think they have a way to determine that off the bat.
Yeah, but they still ask.
Yeah.
I got to sit in a couple weeks ago at dispatch. So.
Oh, you did?
Go ahead, no, you go ahead.
What I like about it is that, the police department has come to you to ask for help with this. So this isn't something that we're just dreaming up. This is, our, police department asking for this because it obviously has become a drain on resources. So, I trust that it would be used as a last resort. I think, yeah, thank you
Oh, yeah.
for cleaning this up.
May I?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I know that ordinances don't normally have protocol in them and that late after an ordinance is signed, that then the internal policy is refined.
Mhm.
I think that's the part that I'm a little hesitant on is I don't know what the internal protocol will be. What is, if they're calling 81 times, is it all good faith at 81 times? Probably not, but, and how, no, they're not necessarily getting the services, but maybe they're referred to a behavioral health navigator who may or may not get them to services and they may or may not qualify. I think, I trust this, group of folks, this, like, in its current iteration, I can't say that right. You guys know what I'm
Iteration,
saying.
yeah.
Current iteration. Apparently I have some problems with alliteration. I am just curious how that protocol will be documented, as to how this will be used. So,
Yeah, that's it.
okay,
I understand
what
the
I'm
question,
thinking.
and I think that's a really good question, because I think when you're drafting any kind of law, you want to make sure it survives and in a way that if I get a new job, or if Chief Wolf is no longer the chief and you get someone who's
Yep.
really a hardliner and says everyone's being arrested,
Hog comes in to
Yeah.
Bremerton.
It's spirit of the
you know,
law.
it's like, oh no, what do we sign off on? So I think
Yeah.
that's a really thoughtful question. And I can tell you what I've seen when I was looking at other jurisdictions. Forget which one, and I'll have to go through again. But one of them had a requirement that prior to being referred for charges or arrested, that there must be a documented warning from law enforcement to say you have to stop doing this. And so that's something I think that could be potentially amended. That could be like one of the safeguards that you could say.
I like,
And I've seen other affirmative defenses written in, like a butt dial is not something that could ever be prosecuted. And I think this has an implicit intent requirement in it based on how it's written. But I mean, you can also modify it to include explicit intentional language, so there's no question as to whether or not it covers things like inadvertent calls.
Checking with
things
my
like that.
checking with my colleagues on, I mean, you guys know what I'm kind of asking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
as you say, you can amend the ordinance to include things.
I like the
other-
documentation part.
Other cities, like you have other examples from other cities that have that documentation within their ordinance, or is that an internal
Within their
policy?
ordinance.
Yeah.
So these are,
Maybe.
I don't want to just, you guys are the legislative branch. I'm just making suggestions. So like, if there is something that would make more sense from your perspective, then that's something that we can,
I would like to see the ordinance modified to include that.
take notes.
Thank you.
But what do we want to see?
I think you've got her,
The language you
Rick, that's a
just
good
used.
suggestion.
Yeah.
I think he knows where we're going with this, so butt dial, which I'm sure there's a different term
Is there?
for it. I want butt dial included in the ordinance, please.
I will not put it in there. I don't think it's even possible.
And, a documented warning was one of the things you
Yeah.
mentioned. And maybe, I don't know if it's reasonable, I don't know, officers are not in the business of determining if somebody has mental unwellness, but they do have the behavioral health navigators to assist, and they have that instinct that that's going on. So maybe like something having to do with, like you said, if somebody's calling 81 times, they got kind of underlying issues that need resources if they're willing to accept them. So I don't know how that could be looped in.
I mean, I can, for what it's worth, like if someone was incompetent, I mean, part of the reason that brings people into the criminal justice system is not to throw them in jail, but to actually make sure they're getting
Help them.
in a way that's, like Tricia said, in a position where if they're refusing to get that help, they actually have a carrot or a stick to say, if you don't do this, you are looking at potential jail. So, I mean, and I can tell you in this particular case, alcohol was a primary driver in this one anyway.
Okay.
But that's still nevertheless an issue that this person, I know from other cases, had been neglecting. So ultimately we did end up getting this person the help, but through different tools, because this individual later got a different charge, which was very much crack.
Okay.
So something that we could respond to in a different way. So, for whatever that's worth, we're not, if someone does have these underlying mental health issues, they can't be prosecuted if they're not competent. They're not competent. And if it's not a serious offense, which is not, they would never be restored and go through that process.
I like the idea of documented contact warning.
I'd like to hear from the police department on this, because it's the kind of thing where you want to.
They referred it to Gary.
Well, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. But we're asking very specific things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm super glad you brought up your point, because we obviously it needs to be a usable tool when they need it, and I worry about
Creating more work.
this, like, I don't know, a technicality on who the warning for last time, or does I just want to I feel like with a lot of things in law enforcement, there's judgment. And we do count on the folks to have the judgment to choose to use the tool or not. Mm-hmm. Just like a weapon, right? Like they choose to do that. So I just want to make sure that I can't think of a reason, but if maybe there would be a reason egregious enough for somebody who made one call to maybe face consequences. I don't know what that is. Maybe.
I think there's already
False
laws on
claims.
the books, like if
Okay.
somebody's swatting somebody, saying that, somebody's got a gun and gonna commit suicide.
False
There
claims.
are, I believe.
Yeah,
there's
that's
laws
false
already.
reporting. So what we're talking about is this narrow niche situation that happens frequently enough that this has been adopted by probably a dozen cities in different forms and referred to my office to try to draft something. Because it does happen where you're not reporting a false crime that's going to result in an emergency response, but you are definitely misusing what we
Right.
think of as the purpose of 911.
But Michael's concern about checking in with law enforcement, can we assume you're gonna do that? And, just make sure there's no pushback about those extra things
I
that
don't
we're
think
adding
that-
in,
I
you
don't
know?
wanna undo what
Exactly,
they were hoping they could accomplish
Yeah.
with this tool.
yeah.
That's
Can't
all.
have subjective language in the ordinance, because if we do, then it could be up to one person or another using that same language in different ways.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that, to me, is the more dangerous aspect than having something that's a little bit ambiguous and just expecting that level of professionalism from the professionals we hire to kind of use that as guidance.
Great.
You're going to police for 911, I go to fire. When I've encountered a 911 call, it never calls for the police. I have an elderly mother and we call for fire and EMT services. So should not overlook the nuisance calls that fire gets.
But
Because-
Right.
if it's a fire nuisance call, it's gonna get referred to the police. I mean, the police are gonna be the ones who write
Okay.
the citation issue, whatever.
I'm just saying that it's, to me, fire is more of a responder to 911 calls than the police. But I
Usually
think
would have a
Chief
police.
McGanny's here. We could ask him for the.
On these calls, it sounds like there's no response. The
I believe-
911
Yeah.
operator is not gonna order
Chief, well, or
response.
Chief McGanny wouldn't be, but
I don't
Yeah.
need an explanation or a comment. I just am saying that
all
when
right.
I think of 911, I think of fire,
Yeah,
not police.
I think of,
me
Okay,
too.
so we have a different.
Because honestly,
different
the,
perspective.
well, in most cases, many cases, police are dispatched with fire.
Just depending on what it is.
Depending on
Yeah,
but most of the calls are responded to by the fire department. Is that what you're saying?
My personal experience
yeah,
well,
yeah,
yeah.
is fire
yeah.
with,
I don't know.
when I think of 911, I think of fire, not police. So,
You're a good rule follower. That's living a
my-
good.
but that's my
Yeah.
mental model.
Yeah.
So I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm not asking any change. I'm commentary because suspect I'm not alone.
Did this
But
go,
Chief, you can come up and ask us for that anytime.
did this go through public?
I think some of the,
Yeah.
if it's a nuisance call, it's probably not getting to either fire or
Right.
police. Kitsap 911 will handle that internally, but if it continues, they're not dispatching anybody. Somebody calling 81 times, they don't really have anything to do. They can't hang up on the person.
Right.
They can just ask them not to call. Then that would be referred to law enforcement for that. When you're talking about nuisance call, I think one of the differences is law enforcement handles some of their calls by just calling the individual. If fire is dispatched, we send it you.
Right.
So I think that's one of the two big differences that, because we have, they have a wide variety of calls that they're getting dispatched to, and some of them. Those officers need to be there, sometimes they can just handle it by phone, you just don't pick up the phone to. Because when it's being dispatched to us, it's either some type of medical call or some type of fire incident would have a broad definition to what we use. It's not something on fire, somebody could have a hot water tank. We would get dispatched.
Okay, is there any more discussion? How do you guys want to handle this?
Oh, we're sending it back, right? And then you're gonna come back with another.
Are we
draft?
gonna do another study session on it?
That's. It's up to you, Council President.
Well, it could be on general if
Or-
Gary's able to redo an ordinance.
Gary,
and
yeah,
then-
when do you
How
want this coming?
How is, let me just kind of.
Not urgent for
Yeah.
Okay, well,
What
then-
can, hold on, let me just tell you, kind of sometimes what's happened, what we've done in previous times is we've had a quick discussion at the council briefing before the council meeting
Mhm.
to just kind of, hey, here's the updates, or an email of the draft could be sent to us and then we can keep it on the,
Right,
okay. Okay.
So
okay.
Usually
you-
that's been when we need to get something through.
can you make the changes before next week? Actually,
Can we discuss it at the briefing?
yeah, we could discuss at a briefing, but it has to be uploaded into our agenda on Friday because the public gets to look at the agenda.
Okay. Friday, this Friday.
This Friday,
Friday.
if you want us to adopt it or discuss it next week, and if not, then
Cause
At
if
your
then you
it's,
have to
leisure.
wait.
it's not urgent to you.
Yeah, no,
Right? So totally up to you, unless you're managing the agenda for balance, you know?
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Okay, you wanna, how about we decide after we look at all three of his ordinances? If we
Oh,
want, you
There
know,
might be more.
if they're all consent, if they're all general, okay? So that's a question mark. Okay. Fighting in
Oh.
public.
Yes,
Fun.
very dramatic. So
I
Yeah.
thought this might be under council rules and procedures for.
Oh, it might be one today.
So, yeah, I mean, so just an example, if Denise were to walk over to me right now and slap me in the face, that would be assault, right? But if I were to say, Denise, you may slap me in the face, that's fine. And then you slap me in the face, that's not an assault. And the same thing if we challenge each other to a fight,
A duel?
and a duel, or someone's honor, whatever it may be, that would not be prosecutable under Washington state's assault laws. Fighting in public in general in Washington state is not illegal unless you are ironically within 500 feet of a funeral or a burial service or memorial, and you know that it's going to disturb.
Very specific reason that legislation was enacted, and I want to know the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, we gotta dig that up.
it falls under.
I'm with you.
Sorry, that was,
No more dad jokes.
oh gosh, that was good.
So it falls, that one falls under the generic disorderly conduct statute in Washington state, the funeral part. So this was, again, this was not a Gary idea. This was something that was referred by law enforcement because what we have started to see, not necessarily more of, but it happens enough where law enforcement does have to respond to situations like this. It might be a bar fight. It might just be two people who see each other walking down the street and they do not like each other. And they decide, let's fight. And they're fighting in public. Sometimes people get seriously hurt. Sometimes, of course, it's just not good for Bremerton. It's not good for people who want to live and work here to see that every day. And they're very shocked when they find out that this actually is not on its face a crime unless you can prove and establish that some primary aggressor under the law that they should be prosecuted.
It's not like that disorderly.
The only way it's disorderly is if you happen to do that within 500 feet of an active funeral. Very bizarre. What some cities have taken to adopting is bans on fighting in public to cover situations like this. And not as many that I could find. There's Centralia, there's Sunnyside. In the city of Seattle, it's illegal to fight in public, but only if that fight, I think, poses a substantial danger to third parties, persons, or property.
I love this definition.
I did include some great
I
definitions.
like physical struggle for. See,
I like
that's
a
my
Donnybrook.
favorite.
I've never been into Donnybrook personally, but I feel like I want to be in one, but I need to look at the RCW to find out where a private place to get in a Donnybrook would be.
Well, exactly.
maybe-
As of right now, you still can go get in a Donnybrook on 6th Street if you wanted to.
Okay, so for the next week.
Well, it's up to you guys.
You say Orcus, Donnybrook, Ruckus, those are good, but I'm wondering, like, is that an escalation?
It's all connected.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Candidly, we did just copy and paste this from, I think, other jurisdictions.
We're not, I recommend
Yeah,
zero
it's-
changes
it's
to this
amazing.
ordinance.
Well, here's the other side of the coin. I have a 21-year-old grandson who lives with me, and I've got boys hanging out at the house and at the patio playing stupid games all the
Mhm.
time. The other one was axe throwing inside my enclosed patio. That was pretty fun the other day.
Private property.
Right. But if they're wrestling in the front yard, right next to the sidewalk, is that fighting in public?
On your private property?
Right, as long as they're behind the sidewalk, they're cool, but they're in public view, yeah.
Well, so the definition of public place is taken from the RCWs. I don't think that would cover that specific fact pattern. I don't want to tell you with 100% certainty.
And I totally understand what you're saying. Like when I worked at the high school,
Yeah.
these boys were just getting these stupid fights
Yeah.
with each other all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's their school rules that can apply, but and I don't want to just say boys, but I like a good
There's been some good girl
ruckus.
fights here.
ruckus or melee myself once in a while, you know.
Mhm.
But
Can I just say, I know, has this been through public safety committee and all that? And so you've had these discussions.
you
Okay.
reported on it.
Because I like this idea and I'm not as concerned because I happen to be someone that doesn't accept, as you probably know, I don't accept violence. If it's happening in front of me, I call 911. You know, it's just, I link to our acceptance of violence between siblings, between friends, to the level of violence that we have in our country right now. And so I am very supportive of this, and am actually surprised that it hasn't been against the law before. Witnessing violence has an effect.
Yeah.
It also condones other violence if nothing's done. I mean, we all know these things to be truths, and yet there are situations like schools where you've got kids with hormones going on and, you know, all that stuff. That's their
Not tolerated
business.
there either.
But that's
Don't
their,
get in
that's,
trouble there.
they take care of that. But we're talking about in our public places in Bremerton. And I think we can set a tone here. So, and again, I appreciate that it came from law enforcement.
And my understanding is what this is really trying to prevent, based on maybe it was your report, Michael, was that there are people who get in fights and then everybody clams out. And yeah, can't have that. So, and also this isn't like this does not mean, for instance, domestic violence is a totally different
Totally
one.
different.
That's determined differently. But
Although it could be.
happen in public, and what you're getting at too is,
Well-
if Christy swings at me and hits me, well, I can press charges. But if we're just out doing that and nobody's deciding to press charges,
Mhm.
then law enforcement has no action to take.
If I intimidated him so much, he didn't want to press charges, even though
Right.
he really should.
are you guys okay?
Well, this is the other
I
alternative.
know.
Very much, I'm an intimidating person. But yeah,
Well-
and that's the thing too. It puts law enforcement in the like, you really don't want to kind of thing, like really.
And let's not get confused. Law enforcement does not ask domestic violence victims if they want to press charges. They haven't done that for years. So, but with this kind of a situation, yes, you know, I'm sure that the law enforcement officers who respond to a fight are going to try to determine what they're dealing with right away. And if it happens to be domestic violence, then they'll address it one way. And if it happens to be, you know, fighting in public, it's a different way.
Consent.
I'm still struggling with this. So give me the definition of a public place.
Outside a bar.
Well, there's an RCW. So have we looked it up?
Yes, I can do that. All right, it's long. Are you ready?
Yep.
Public place includes streets and alleys of incorporated cities and towns, state or county or township highways or roads, buildings and grounds used for school purposes, public dance halls and grounds adjacent thereto,
Public dance hall.
Those parts of establishments where beer may be sold under this title, soft drink establishments, public buildings, public meeting halls, lobbies, halls, dining rooms of hotels, restaurants, theaters, stores, garages, and filling stations, which are open to and generally used by the public and to which the public is permitted to have unrestricted access, railroad trains, stages, and other public conveyances of all kinds and character, and the depots and waiting rooms used in conjunction therewith, which are open to unrestricted use and access by the public, publicly owned bathing beaches, parks, and or playgrounds, and all other places of like or similar nature to which the general public has unrestricted right of access, and which are generally used by the public. This is in 664010, which is Title 66, I think it's alcohol beverage control.
Yes.
So that's why you have all the definitions referencing bars and such.
So the police are telling you that this is a big problem for them?
I wouldn't say a big problem. I would say it is a problem enough that they are frustrated when they see decline notices, because I can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt who the primary aggressor is, but it's abundantly clear that two people are willfully engaging in a brawl on 6th Street or out in front of a bar, and they still have to respond. Fire has to respond. People do get injured, and they are left being like, Gary, why didn't you charge someone? And because I have this bunch of drunkards over here who are saying this person started and this person
They can vote?
started.
Is that what they would generally do?
If we
Well,
had
it would
this,
it would depend on the case. So, I mean, all the normal defenses still apply. So if you were charged with fighting in public, but you were fighting in self-defense, then that's something you can absolutely still raise. But if you have a situation where it's a road rage situation, we just had one the other day, two people were fighting right in front of the police department. And at that point, from multiple witness accounts, it was apparent that they got out of their cars and decided to duke it out. And at that point, how am I supposed to prove who's the primary aggressor in this situation versus is this two people who just decided to fight it out and stop a bunch of traffic, and then someone gets arrested, and why is it declined?
Well, they should have gotten arrested for just being stupid, having a fight in front of the police station. But,
Or the soda shop.
yeah, so the shop.
I think this balances, I get your concerns. I think that if you put the cost benefit ratio out there, the protection of the public outweighs concerns that I have that, boys will be boys, or, something like that.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item? All right, so this one we'll wait until we hear the third.
All right. So I have a rule where I don't like to bring you new laws without suggesting something get repealed. And this is one that I hope everyone's in agreement with. I could ask you all whether you currently have a garbage bag in your car.
I
Last time Kylie yelled at me when I did that,
She
because I
didn't
don't
have
want you to incriminate yourselves. But
We have
basically-
bags that could be considered garbage bags.
I have
Really
many,
bad
many.
deal.
I was gonna say, if you have a purse,
Oh,
then that, yeah.
shopping bag.
The long story short is back in the 70s, understandably, there was a national push to address a nationwide litter problem. A uniform litter code was proposed and enacted by a bunch of cities, Bremerton included to some extent. Within that code, a very industrious sergeant with the police department, for whatever reason, was reading this code and said, Gary, do you know it is a misdemeanor you drive your car and it doesn't have a litter bag in said vehicle at all times? I said, no, please never arrest anyone for that. Please don't do that. And we've never gotten any cases of this, so this is not something that's urgent, but it's one of those things that you stumble across and it's on the books and it's not remotely enforced and should be removed.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 3 ordinances. Do you want to treat them all as consent? Do you want anything on general? What do you guys want to do?
I'm okay with consent.
I'm fine.
Pending the review.
The modification.
of
The
briefing.
modifications,
Yeah.
And I'm not one that feels strongly about them, so I would say feel strongly try to look Friday or, and and look, and if you can clearly, show the added line, should be great.
I can work on that. I'll try to get it done.
And then if we need to, we can pull that one.
Again, if
Right.
not, it just gets bumped,
Yeah.
you
no
know,
worries.
so.
All right,
Okay,
thank you for your time.
thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome Civil Engineer 2, Denton Lynch, here to present item B6.
Good evening and thank you. So this project is the 2026 new edition of our annual program, and this is for trenchless rehabilitation of sewer and storm mains in the city. For those who aren't familiar, because most of you have heard the spiel, but if you haven't, rehabilitation is done by a cured in place pipe. Essentially what that is a felt liner that's coated in resin and saturated in resin and inserted into the line and then heat cured. And typically what we've seen in past projects is steam curing. This is the most typical. Once cured, the new line is designed for a minimum of 50 plus years of service lifetime. So trenchless, minimal disruption, no digging, way less traffic impact. So really a positive thing to do. Quickly on scope, for sewer, we have 5,500 feet of sewer lining from East 9th Street to East 11th Street. So primarily in that neighborhood. For clean and video inspection only, so no lining work, we simply clean the lines and inspect them. And the lines that are cleaned and videoed are used to generate the scope of lining work for the following year. So it's kind of a iterative process that feeds itself scope for next year's project. That clean and video scope is from East 11th to East 16th. So primarily centered around the Minette area for sewer work. For storm main, we have just 200 feet of lining, just a little guy on Campbell Way. And then we have an emphasis on clean and video inspection this year. Hopefully, we're a little short on priority lines for storm sewer lining. So this is some larger diameter pipe, 6,000 feet on Whedon Way from Riddell down to Callahan. So it's 12 to 36 inch pipe. Hopefully it can give us some scope for the next few years and help us rebuild that.
Wow.
Bids for the project were open March 25th. We received a total of 4 bids, and In Situ Form Technologies was our lowest responsive and responsible bidder at $629,146.34. And In Situ Form's done the project for us previously. They did last year's 2025 project and 2020 as well. So they've done this project for us recently. As far as construction schedule, we anticipate notice to proceed mid-May and completion of the project in September before we hit rainy season. So that's kind of our standard timeline that we follow.
So this went
I
through
know this
Public
came
Works,
through
right?
Public Works. One thing that I didn't ask, though, that I'd like to ask now, if it's okay, is just our standard impact to the community of this work. And knowing that from Rydell down to Callahan, long stretch, heavily traveled, any impact to service?
So service won't be impacted because it's storm pipe and it's clean and video inspect. So there's not going to be any issues with sewer service temporarily out of service or anything like that.
Okay.
As far as traffic disruption and disruption for ingress and egress to the businesses on Whedon Way, we're actually intending to do that work at night. So the 6,000 feet roughly of clean and video inspection, plan to do that.
Wow.
as night work.
Okay.
So clean and video inspection work is typically much quicker than lining. So
Sure.
they can move through that corridor
Okay.
pretty quickly, I would guess around a week.
Thank you.
Michael?
How long have we been doing these, the cure in place?
Oh, yes.
I'm calling you in
That wasn't just a laugh, Ned.
before my time.
I would say like, okay, so the magic number you just used was 15. So because you just said that the life expectancy of these liners,
50.
50.
Yeah, sorry.
Never mind, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
And the technology's hopefully longer than that. Yeah, if it's 15 years, we have a problem.
I thought you said 15. I was just
No,
like, oh, I was gonna ask what happens at 15. Now at 50, I don't care.
Well, the
Let your son worry.
technology's only existed.
Yeah.
So we're kind of just now getting to the point where we're gonna see how that lifetime works.
Yeah, something I'm looking at doing on my house for my lateral. Okay, nothing else for me.
So I have a question on, especially on Wheaton Way, there's numerous catch basins. Do you clean all those lines too?
So we will be accessing through catch basins, but we're targeting larger diameter pipes. So it's not every run of storm sewer going down Wheaton Way. It's targeting 12 to 36 inch corrugated metal pipe. That's where we think we can identify the pipes that are most needing to be lined. So that was kind of the focus.
Really? So it's not none of the smaller pipes, or they're just easier to?
We just get the most bang for our buck by doing the larger diameter because.
No, I mean, I think it's great. It's just, I know that the storm laterals also get damaged a lot, especially on roads like that.
Right. And the goal eventually will be to, canvas the entirety of the city and cover all these aging pipes, but.
Well, I appreciate that you guys pivoted and you're not doing anything downtown this year because
yes.
NEPA's coming, as we all know.
Yeah.
What?
Anyway,
What is
yeah.
that?
Yeah, I know, huh? So then, I know originally you did have it on the plan, I think last year, to do a bunch of the downtown. So does that mean next year you'll flip back there probably?
Yeah, I mean, we'll have between this year's project for clean and video, we have 12,500 feet. So that's quite a bit. It's typically more than we would line in a year, plus what we videoed last year downtown. So really, we're gonna have to assess that.
Okay.
When we have all the reports and kind of rank priority.
Wow.
But we'll have plenty to choose from. So.
Great.
Good job.
Yeah, this is a really good program.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I like how far under bid we came. Boy, they left a lot of money sitting on the table.
No.
A real lot. Okay, how should we treat this consent?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next, I would like to welcome Stormwater Program Manager Will Riley here to present item B7. Kids at break.
What?
I just got all that algae.
Oh, okay.
Got the blue right now. Yeah.
Is it blooming right now?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Timely
On
visit,
that
Will.
note.
I bet you've been looking forward to this meeting
Oh,
all
I know.
day.
Yep, I have. Well, good evening. My name is Riley. I'm the Stormwater Program Manager. Excuse my raspy voice. I am, since I started stormwater, allergic to nice weather.
Awesome.
So I'm here to present a goods and service agreement with Aquatechnics. Aquatechnics is the lake management consultant that we've been working with throughout the duration of this management program. They offer really fantastic service. They offer phosphorus treatment twice a year, and then a summer aquatic vegetation harvesting. This program is designed to sequester the phosphorus in the lake, both by a lanthanum-based treatment, which is just a clay that absorbs phosphorus like a sponge. And then whatever phosphorus remains is used by the plants, and that plant matter is removed from the lake during the summer. So whatever is in there is used by the plants, taken out, and whatever else is left is sequestered through that treatment. This will be a 3-year contract, so 2026, 2027, 2028, and this offers a lot of benefit to the city, both through decreasing the amount of potentially toxic algae in the lake, removing vegetation, which is both a safety concern and a boating concern, so that swimmers aren't getting tangled in the weeds and boat motors aren't being fouled up. And then it's just generally aesthetically pleasing. keeps the lake nice to use, nice to be on, nice to look at. The total cost is up of over the 3 years is $596,902 up to. So we don't have to use it all, but that is the max amount of that contract.
I believe that covers for you.
If you need it, it's just
Yeah.
water, right?
Okay.
So this went through Public Works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some schooling on that, what this, like all the processes. That's great.
So do we have questions? I got questions.
I've got to ask, is it open now?
So I believe the advisory is still in effect. Yeah. I went up today and took a look at it, and it looks much better.
Okay. And when the public, like me, reads that, what connection is there from that occurrence or those kinds of occurrences where we lose service to this?
So ideally, this treatment will reduce the amount of extended periods of blooms. There's going to be blooms potentially, given that it is a natural lake. There is, vegetation and animals and stuff like that. But if you look at the data over the past 7 years or so at this point, and I'm sorry that I did not provide a graph, you see a sharp decline in days closed or days in advisory. So really, the amount of time that the lake is closed is significantly decreased with this treatment.
Okay, so I have some questions about the new treatment valves that you put in. Are those, like all the properties that are up in dockside, is now their stormwater catch basins all going into these treatment valves?
That's correct.
Okay. So besides dockside, they have the Navy's got a park down there. So are they in agreement that they'll no longer use fertilizer that causes some of these blooms?
I'm not aware of anything that they've said one way or another. I do know that they have their own permit that they are beholden to, but I haven't heard anything specifically one way or another about Camp McKean and their vegetation practices.
So it would seem that it would make sense if we're paying to keep the lake usable, that they would also help for that. So
Absolutely, I take that into consideration.
yeah, call them up. I'm sure they'll jump right on it. But maybe there's a federal grant too that in the future we could use to help keep their park clean too. If anybody have any other questions?
Because isn't it half of it the county?
Pardon?
About a quarter is the county.
Yeah.
Do we have any kind of agreement with the county to help fund any of this?
Not currently.
And would you say that this is like the work we're doing, is it kind of more on the maintenance side or more on the corrective side? Like, are we getting anywhere doing this year after year?
We are. So we have seen.
Just fill it in? No. Actually, I don't have a problem with it being just, if it's just kind of what we have to do, but I was just wondering if, if it's gonna be less maintenance, hopefully in a few years, are we moving in that direction? I feel like that's what I'm hearing sometimes.
So that is the reality situation. We are seeing less duration of these blooms compared to the start of the program. You truly see a sharp decline in the amount of days closed.
Yeah.
Then with these treatment valves put in both at Francis, at Dockside, at the park, we're really moving to kind of isolate the lake from phosphorus. So there's going to be that natural process, that natural phosphorus. There's going to be some tangential amount of phosphorus from yard care and that kind of light activities. But the vast majority of it is either being remediated through this program, will be remediated through the vaults, and hopefully, and we are 100% seeing benefit from it.
Thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? How do you want to treat this?
That's great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I'd like to welcome City Engineer Ned Lieber here to present item B8.
And Dave Sorensen should be putting a PowerPoint up. Look at him. Thank you, Dave. So this is our East Side treatment plant UV replacement project. It's been before you a few different times for funding approval and recently for the approval for purchase of the UV equipment.
Yep.
So we've pre-purchased that. They should be working on putting that together for us. This is for the construction. So the plant was built in 2001. It feels like a brand new plant to me, but it's not anymore. So that this UV and equipment was installed originally with the plant. It's obsolete. The equipment is now not really supported by the manufacturer anymore. And we received 8 bids for the construction. And again, we got really good bids. I don't know what's going on right now, but bids are very low. So next slide, Dave, please. So this is for the construction contract. We got 8 bids. We presented the bid results to Public Works Committee on the 17th. The low bidder is Roglan's Inc. They've done projects for the city before. They've done some pump station work. They installed the East Side Beach Main a few years ago. Probably like 8 or 10 now. They had good references. We enjoyed working with them. And we recommend awarding the contract. And the engineer's estimate was 2.3 to 2.8 million. And Roglan's bid is 1.5. And that includes some force account or minor change work. So there's some contingency money in that contract also for whatever we encounter. So that,
Like we're on a
answer
roll
any
with these
questions?
contracts, you know?
Don't
I
say
don't know
out
what's
loud.
Just
going on. The bid.
Up, you know?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
So what I really, this is literally my neighborhood. What I appreciated was that there's zero impact to the residents because it's all happening inside the building. And so, there's no, right, there's
Shouldn't be.
like a truck going in, truck coming out.
Ideally.
So, yeah. Easy peasy.
Anybody else? How do you want to treat this? Consent, thank you.
Wish I had a fighting ordinance. Cool.
Yeah, there's nothing cool.
Change departments.
Yeah.
Do you want to
Okay.
take a break or you want to keep barreling?
We can take a break if you want. We have a couple executive sessions. Why don't we take a break now? And then,
I'm fine with that.
because I don't think,
Just a
we don't
short
have
break
any
would be
other
great.
speakers
Like till 7?
till 7 o'clock. All right, we're gonna adjourn for a while until 7 PM.
How are you? Made it.
I made it.
And I really like your cool sunglasses with your cool sunglasses. Can I see this whole setup? Because I feel like these sunglasses.
They might be dirty. I think they still have sand on them. That's what I was looking at. I was like, they still have sand from this morning.
Sand
And I was like,
electric.
yeah, if you're gonna like
Beloved,
wear
you need
sunglasses.
rollerblades
you need
with
to-
those.
Yeah.
Need rollerblades with
I mean, you
those.
look cool with your sunglasses. You
have
might
those.
not
Those are the
have
best.
I love them. I
used
threw
to
in the
wear
towel
them.
and got the Croakies years ago, even though they're
Mhm.
super dorky because they are fabulous.
They're great.
Okay.
Yeah. No, they're very, very dorky.
What are they called?
Croakies.
I call them Croakies, but
That's
this one-
because there was a brand.
yeah.
They were they're very popular in Southern California with surfers.
Okay, all right.
And you can get ones that float, so if your
Mhm.
glasses go in the water,
Yep.
they float. on the
I
It's
love
bottom.
pretty
that
cool.
idea.
Pretty
I've
cool.
lost sunglasses kayaking and, yeah.
Okay.
I think we got held up like
I call the meeting back to order. Next, under general council business, I will invite Chair Michael Goodnow to provide a brief summary of the last Public Safety Committee meeting held on April 7th. As soon as he sits
Don't
down.
tell him what he
It's
needs
your
to
turn.
do. Okay, it's your turn.
So yesterday at Public Safety, we met at the fire station,
Oh, good.
and that was a little too close to home for some chickens. And I don't have the minutes yet, but we mostly talk about what we get.
We mostly talked about the electric bikes and electric,
Yes.
wheeled vehicles. Electric,
Oh,
not
that's
electric
right, that's
bikes.
coming.
The scooters?
They've kind of renamed.
They renamed it.
Classifying them and stuff or
So,
something.
Much like the stuff we were talking about today, we're looking at how to, modernize the code. So it includes some of these scooters and one-wheeled
One-wheel.
vehicles and two-wheeled vehicles that.
I thought the state already did that.
Well, we have to bring.
We have to adopt
We have
it.
to bring ours into it, but then also just see if we want to make any changes. And
Yeah.
there were things about where you could use them, whether it was, certain roads. It started getting.
Specifically, it said it's class E, N, D, G, there's a whole bunch of letters. One big thing was that they could not be operated in areas with a speed limit greater than 25 miles an hour.
Interesting.
So, and I know they do. I mean, I see them
Yeah.
everywhere.
And some of that's because the devices have changed since since, I don't know, early mopeds, whenever this was written or something like that. So we're
Okay, you're
just
saying
looking at-
that's what the old language
Yeah.
was, not
So-
the new
Yeah,
language.
yeah.
So I thought that was a new language he was
Well,
showing us.
I don't think that was a change. I think that was an existing
Okay,
speed limit.
but it was, he cited it.
So we gonna arrest people for riding an e-bike on?
Not an e-bike,
And only if they're
Well,
publicly
e-bikes-
fighting.
e-bikes were in there. I guess you're
E-bikes
right.
would be included. So, right, obviously, talking about building bike infrastructure, get somebody on
Yeah.
a bike, and now we're
Yeah.
dealing with, So what I asked John Hinkman to do was to kind of make a little matrix of like areas of types of bikes and just see what we can get our heads around. So we're gonna probably look at it yet again before you guys see it, but trying to iron out some of the kinks before we move forward. And other than that, we had a great tour of the fire station. And there's a photo around somewhere too. We have to Photoshop Christie into.
That sucks.
He's the Hamburglar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my photo.
Okay.
They had it up on their fridge.
Of course they did.
Oh,
No.
I found some extra copies in case your other kids want.
fantastic. Yeah, they got one up in their room.
Yeah.
I just found out that my scooter that I have can go up to 45 miles an hour, my electric scooter. I did not know that because I use the little happy governor thing that's too fast, but it has the capability.
The bike I just ordered 17 miles per hour, so that's,
The e-bike?
Be able to get the rebate.
I don't know yet.
Okay.
They also were talking about wattage. I
Hmm.
don't know.
Battery.
750 watts, which is very low wattage.
That would cover most of them, but I don't think it would cover a two-person bike. I think their motors are a little bit stronger.
It actually depends on what that standard is, because I looked on Amazon last night and almost every bike I looked at was 1,500 watts plus. So, but I don't know what this law, what they mean by wattage. I don't know whether they mean it's the battery or they mean it's the motor, because there's a difference between
Right.
those and amps and all that kind of stuff. But they even had one on Amazon, 2,000 watts that could go 55 miles an hour.
Woo!
Well, and as I'm
Nothing.
thinking about this, it might be a good idea. We have a new active transportation plan work group.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll probably,
You know,
we're waiting on the state law. And so we,
okay.
as councilman.
Because we do always like to make sure that public works and public safety are in alignment about things. And so bike lanes, what people do in them, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, so more to be revealed.
Yeah.
Okay, so Rick, would you like to share any of your key takeaways from the KETA annual meeting and economic forecast that you attended last Thursday?
Sure. First of all, the KETA annual meeting was held at the Clearwater Casino Convention Center, and it was packed, sold out. And from my perspective, it was really most of the business leaders and community leaders in our county. Mayor Wheeler spoke, as did Katie
Walters.
Talked about the fan zone coming up. We got the usual economic update from the two professors from Western Washington University that seem to be always there. They talked about what he called the K economy, which is started administration, the K curve. So those that are wealthy are getting wealthier, those that aren't. So
I mean, the gap is getting wider.
It's divergent. It's a graph that's somewhat new. Emily Randall was there. She spoke about her efforts with immigration. She's been working on that. She's been working on Native American issues. SIOP, we talked about getting the funding necessary for shipyard infrastructure, and that Pearl Harbor already has their dry dock almost completed. What else she's talked about? Small business. There were several questions for her about, helping small businesses to thrive, and she said she was working on that. She's got a big area of responsibility, her AOR, and so making sure she's representing the coast, and the areas there, as well as many Native American tribes. I know from when I used to work with Congressman Kilmer, there are 13 recognized tribes in the 6th congressional district. So talked about working with that. Those were the highlights, other than the business climate, and they encouraging more small businesses within our community.
Probably until financing is easier, it's not gonna happen, but yeah.
Well, it's pretty encouraging what the contractor's doing. For the contracts to come in that much lower, that's a great sign. Really good sign.
So one thing that we've been kind of hearing about sometimes with contracts is that they have like a $20,000 or $30,000 tariff holdback. Were the tariffs mentioned?
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
All of the presentations, I took some notes and I'm remembering, but all the presentations are online under KETA, so you could go out and look at the guys, two men that do the economic update, and or they are kind of they play off each other.
They've done it.
So
Pardon?
they try to keep it lively. And one other thing too is that the mayor was he talked a lot about the fan zone and so forth. So that was good to hear from him and Katie. Trying to think who they recognized, but we'll go to somebody else. I'll come back in a minute. If I remember, I'm trying to remember who got the economic.
We just needed the key takeaways.
Yeah.
Those are the key things.
We'll go online and look at the recordings. Thanks for that reference.
Oh, I know what I want to say. Yes. If anyone knows Jay,
Jay Mills,
Jay Mills, sorry.
he's an elder, yeah.
He was recognized as
Oh,
the business
he's a Bremerton boy.
of the year.
He grew up on Indian property here in Bremerton. He's a wealth of knowledge. on the connection between the tribe and Bremerton, and he used to run the fishing derbies out in Sinclair Inlet long before my time. He's a wonderful man. He handles all the shellfish, the Squamish seafoods, and he's on the circuit for making a gooey duck, not a pokey. I've been in Hawaii too. It's a ceviche, gooey duck ceviche. And I didn't even know how to pronounce gooey duck until I met Jay Mills.
How dare you?
He's really a good.
And the other gentleman.
I'm so glad he was
The other
awarded.
gentleman recognized, with Chad Melton
Oh, yeah,
and Michael Denham.
yeah.
All right, that's good enough. It was thank you for letting me represent AJ.
Those are fun, yeah.
Glad you went. Okay, so I started serving on the Kitsap Transit Board yesterday. And so I asked Christine to make copies of their financials. They got a lot of money to spend. But I did I spoke with Mayor Milwaukee and two of the county commissioners, Commissioner Walters and Commissioner
Rolfus? Oren.
yes, and Rolfus. I spoke with
No.
all three of them.
Wait, the commissioners.
County commissioners.
Rolfus.
Oren.
No, I didn't talk to Oren. No,
I thought you said Ed Rolfus.
no,
That's back in the day. Well,
no.
Sorry
I
about
didn't
that.
say that.
no. Apologies.
So I talked to them about how they financially were able to have dial-a-ride in Bainbridge Island to see if it was something we could afford. And they told me the reason why they have a dial-a-ride there is they don't have midday bus service at all. And in order for them to get the dial-a-ride, the city of Bainbridge Island pays for the marketing, and Kitsap Transit gives them the service. But they did say it's not out of the realm that at some point Bremerton could get it. The ridership is really low, and the ridership's low because it's not often enough for most people. And frankly, it's really hard to see the schedules. I was going to take the bus down here today. I could not figure out what time to go to the corner of High and 15th. So I'm going to go down and get a paper copy, but they don't have their own app for Kitsap Transit, which I thought was odd. But maybe they're tied into another app that I'm not aware of.
I do think you can just use Google to do it. If you, it came up for me the other day when I was doing something else, and but I'm surprised they don't have their app. And I think their website has a trip planner.
Well, like I asked my my phone, you know, because I know the bus number, right? So I said, what's the schedule for bus 224? And what it did instead was it gave me the system map and it showed me where all the stops were. Well, I know where the stops are closest to my house, but I didn't know what time to stand around there to get it.
And also you can always call and they can tell you too. I know, but
Yeah.
but you're used to
In this day and age where you can usually just we have information at our fingertips.
Yeah.
So many things.
Yeah.
Should be one
And
click.
this is still.
Yeah.
So
But as a tourist in a city, like usually on the poles, there's a little thing that says what the times are.
Yeah.
And like what the bus is, because you may not even know what it's called, let alone to know how to Google it. If you're not from here.
And some
you
of
may
them
not
have
realize.
apps.
Well,
that'll
they
tell
have
you
the
that bus
numbers,
is
but they
3
don't have
minutes
the schedule.
away
Yeah.
or 2
Oh.
minutes
But
late.
like in the residential, like if it's just the pole with the little like, bus thing, there are other cities that have that right there on it. And it
Mhm.
does make it easier for folks that need to use.
Well, they finally
buses.
got numbers on them because up until what, 3 or 4 years ago, they didn't have even your route number on the signs. So
Yeah,
so that's
all unfortunate.
Making
Yeah.
changes to that
Yeah.
too, temporary changes or whatever.
I'm gonna find, they might be tied in with the bigger app, and I'll find out what it is and I'll let you know.
Well, I'm glad that we know now why we don't have it, and that was always a question that we had.
But I think the more that that we all can use it on occasion.
Sure.
It doesn't always work, but more that we can and explain to other people in our districts, you know.
Can I ask a little bit more about this?
The money, sure.
Okay, I mean, capital work in progress, what is that? What
I-
are you
you
talking
know-
about, double-decker buses?
That's what I was looking at. I was like, what's that?
What
When
page?
are we gonna get double-decker buses? Can we get a Hills
just-
to Ales?
I do want to remind us that this is Kitsap Transit's budget, it's financials, and we're looking at them, and it's a public meeting, and
I'm just,
so
I think,
I think I would need a member from Kitsap Transit here if I'm gonna start asking a lot.
and
of
if they do
questions.
have those, Jennifer, I would
Yeah.
guess it'd be on heavily used commuter routes like Polsbo to the Bainbridge Island Ferry. They might have one, because I know when I worked at Seattle Sound Transit, at least
we're not
half their
talking like
buses.
the cool,
That's what I
No,
was
they're
like,
not
there's a cool
talking,
red
they're
bus.
not talking about the red hail bus. No.
damn, okay.
But,
That's all. I wasn't gonna go into too many details. But I'm glad that you're there and, do you have any, like, what do you see as their top priorities this year?
I don't know, I've only been to one meeting.
Yep.
So I go to a study session in a couple weeks, so
Cool,
I
thank you.
just need to learn more about them. And then a couple weeks ago, I went to this really great Association of Washington Cities had their first workshop for city council leaders, and they've never done it before, and they said they've done it for mayors. And so there was a variety of cities, and we're the only ones where the council president runs the meetings. Every other one, it was even strong mayor cities, the mayor.
Really?
Yeah, we are the only ones, which I like, you know,
Of
it's
course.
our meeting.
I
We
think
talked
that might
about,
only, isn't that only in the cases where the mayor is a member of the council?
no,
Weird.
no,
That's a separate branch,
Ooh.
yeah.
I
Wow.
like that.
no, there were cities with strong
Mhm.
mayors. We need to go to, Tim's still here? Everybody in Eastern Washington seems to be getting a community swimming pool grant. It was unbelievable how many.
It's not in Eastern Washington.
No, they said the reason why is they have so many drownings of kids going out into the irrigation ditches.
Oh, my God.
But,
That's sad.
but even still, I mean, we got water everywhere. Our kids need to learn how to swim too. So anyway, I'll try to find out what grants they're getting and I'll let you know.
Do we have any irrigation ditches?
And no, but we have water all over the place.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
When we went to the AW, Action for New Health Officers,
mhm,
they talked about class 1 cities,
yeah,
if we are, and there's only like 40 of them in the state,
right.
and I don't know what city you're talking about, but for a class 1 city, the mayor does not lead the council. The mayor is a separate, it's like the executive branch versus the legislative branch.
Well, they were leading the council meetings.
But you have to see they're a little class
That's
1.
what she's saying,
And we
like,
did.
mayors.
We did. They were strong mayors in class 1 cities. So, I mean, there was 40 to 50 of us there, so it was a pretty
I
good
don't think
cross
he wants to
section.
lead us.
No,
Thank you.
Number, but
no, but
It's interesting.
we talked about the issue we're having with Zoom calls, and there's a couple other cities that have gone through that, and they made some changes that they feel are working right now, but they're aware that something may come up. And Christy was very informative. She sent me a newspaper article about a Zoom meeting for the city of Orton where a naked person was on display several times. So luckily we don't allow people to use
No,
their
video.
cameras.
Now you just gave everybody ideas.
Well, they don't get to use. a
They don't
camera
get to
on that
be
side.
on camera. That's
Yeah.
part of what we're gonna do. I think.
And we have so many of the same problems as the city of Aberdeen.
Mhm.
They have very young council president, and it's
Oh.
but
It's not.
Oh, wait a minute.
Is that our problem?
no,
Oh,
Something
because that's what it
guys.
sounded like.
Age is just a state of mind.
they have 6 districts and 12 council members. There's 2 for every district.
Oh.
And I said, what's that like? And she goes, like herding cats. It's awful. But, you know, they have the same issues. We're trying to figure out how to help the unhoused and not getting sufficient support from their county. That, I mean, that's their impression. Anyway, I'm going down and having lunch with her and
Oh, good.
doing a tour and getting to know better, because I think Aberdeen is very close to Bremerton in a lot of ways. Except luckily we don't have train tracks running everywhere, because one of their big issues is trying to get the trains to put down arms, and they refuse to do it. So instead, they blow the whistles all night long every time
Oh my God.
somebody is walking across the tracks, and with a lot of people that are unhoused or have mental health problems, it's the horns are going off constantly. So,
Yep. Oh, wow.
all right. So,
Do you want me to share about Kids at 911, or would you like to?
oh, you can go ahead.
Just a couple of real quick things. At our last Kids at 911 meeting, we talked about doing like a salary freeze and recruiting based off of the 50th percentile for the average salary board, and it's for the top for the executive director. Nobody was really paying much attention to Kids at 911 until there was that scandal with the last, and we won't really address that here, but a lot of attention started being paid to the salary that he was being paid. And so when the last person left and the new person was appointed, there was a lot of angst amongst the board about how much this person was being paid, which was in the 75th percentile.
Yep.
We got a little bit of context on that. There was a decision that was made 15, 20 years ago.
I don't think it was that long ago. I thought it was during COVID that
There-
they decided to go to the 70th percentile.
It could have been the year of 2017. I don't know
Yeah,
why that's
okay.
popping out to me, but they had a critical staffing shortage during that time. And they made the decision to raise everybody's wages to the 75th percentile for recruiting purposes. What that did is it raised everybody's, including, because once you do the lower staff, then the managerial staff want it to be raised.
Domino effect.
And then administration, well, they can kind of almost do what they want. And with an executive board that's not paying attention, that's taking the recommendations, now we have an inflated administrative salary. What now is kind of an issue, and we had some really great really great public feedback from the Employees Guild, actually talking about compression, because while we recommended a salary freeze at the 50th percentile, what that means is that the new the deputy director is being paid more than a new executive director, which we are recruiting, because Maria Jameson Owens is going to retire.
How long has she been an executive?
She did it with this explicit direction that she would only be there for a couple of years. She was appointed. Did we have the controversy in 23? I want to say.
Yeah, I think it was 23 or 24.
So she is going to be there for a transition period once they
And
have
then she'll
hired and
retire.
recruited. Yes.
She's retiring, I think, in October.
At the
the
plan
director's
is-
salary.
Right. And so the director, so we did discuss, I am personally a fan of her. It's okay if you're not, but I think she's done an amazing job taking over and transitioning and providing amazing. She was doing half the job of the executive director to begin with, because he was hardly ever in the. But she made a recommendation for us to raise the recruiting salary, because apparently some of the feedback from the consultant, from the recruiters, was that the salary was too low. I think we all had questions about it.
Yeah.
But she made a recommendation to raise the top level to the 60th percentile, which helps with the compression issue of hiring an executive director making less than the deputy director. But the Employees Guild came, they said, we're worried about compression by freezing salaries, even at the administrative and managerial level. What you're doing is essentially, like you're talking about, the domino effect. And so we're going to have that compression discussion later. But we are needing to retain high quality professionals with our Kids at 911.
Yes, but.
Yes, and.
Yes, and. That is the highest paid position in the entire county
It's
for
a
a public employee.
Like
And
281 with
it's over that, but the problem also
With
is now when they're hiring at executive levels in the county and it's gonna hit the city, they're using that as a baseline and saying, well, we do A, B, C, and D, so we should be worth, 85% of what that job is, or whatever. So it's difficult when we get basically a 1% raise in taxes every year and they raised their rates to all of
They've
the
raised all their
cities
rates, all the, yeah.
dramatically.
I will say that month after month, they have really great retention.
Well, yeah. Have you been there? They have
Full
everything.
gym.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but
I'm not saying anything
I
against
mean,
that.
and I
I'm just
think that
saying-
they want, and the Employees Guild wants to preserve that quality of life for their employees. They do hard, stressful jobs.
but there's also a lot of people who
It's
work
just-
for the city of Bremerton who do hard, stressful jobs. So I get what you're saying, but the reality is when it's a taxpayer-funded position, we have to be
We're
cognizant.
not having a debate.
Right.
I'm just reporting out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just reporting out about what the Employees Guild perspective is. I'm just discussing the compression issue that we addressed, that will be addressed at a future session, and then the salary freeze at the administrative level and how that salary crept up. It's a very high salary. The board is concerned about it and they want to bring it back down to a more manageable level.
I know that Jane mentioned this. I wonder if you covered it in your comments. Are they also going to be taking a look at how any decisions that they make may impact other agencies?
That's something, you know what, I don't know.
Well, the county commissioners brought that
The
up.
county
Oh,
commissioners.
okay.
Or
Okay.
I mean,
Commissioner Walters brought it up.
Okay.
And the board is made up of several mayors, several council members, all the commissioners. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that sounds like they'll be taking a look at that.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's, a lot going on there.
but there's other things going on too, as far as I learned that each of the, what they've done with Kids Up 911 is there's a whole mobile unit replacement that's going on. All of, oh God, I'm looking to you. But it's basically every fire truck in Kitsap County has very similar equipment timeout.
Yeah.
So
Come up where you can be heard, chief.
the citizens passed a 1/10 of 1% a few years ago for a new radio system.
Yes.
Yeah, that's,
And that's what they're doing right now. So
Yeah.
they're working on two parts of it. They're replacing the infrastructure.
Yes.
They're going to a totally new type of radio system. But with that, they have to replace not just fire, every
Every vehicle.
safety radio,
Yes.
mobile and portable radio in the county.
How is it? I'm curious because we don't see Bremerton at the beat, but we see like the other ones. But how is it going for you?
So-
Bremerton's in good shape.
Yeah, so we sit on what they call the SAB board, the Strategic
No, I know
Advisory
you're
Board.
there. I just I just
Yeah.
haven't heard from you.
So, Bremerton is done. Bremerton Police and Fire are done with their mobile radios. Bremerton Fire will be the first recipient of portable radios because we're,
The highest and need and best
well,
in the county.
our radios need to be replaced. We bought new ones in 2015 to work on the current system, but Motorola no longer offers repairs to them.
Everybody's on Verizon, is that right? Is that
For cellular, yes.
okay? Well, because
Is there any resale market for any of this stuff?
So we were actually given credit from the manufacturer for the portable radios that everybody has. Was included in the bid, but we were going to retain them.
sorry.
They'll still have, the new system will have a VHF capability, so we will retain some of our radios, like for water rescue. So our swimmers will actually have radios on them, so they'll be able to communicate when in water, which they don't have that capability.
But like all of the computer monitors that everybody has in their, like the
So different-
law enforcement vehicles.
So the MCTs that law enforcement.
I was just gonna-
try to use,
yeah.
those have been replaced and upgraded, different system. They work off of cellular, not the radio.
Oh,
But
So
do we get a rebate for any of this stuff? Like, can we resell it to some third world country? I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they could.
what they
So
do with all
the
this stuff.
MCTs and now the new radio, Kitsap 911 will retain ownership of. I don't know what they do with the old MCTs and computers that they use.
Well, yes, you're right. We should donate them.
What I was really, what I did not realize is that you have independent modems on every one of the trucks so that you can run all of your, I didn't realize that. And that was so interesting. So you can run all of the equipment off of your own independent modem. You don't have to worry about, like, anyway, cell service specific. You have your own modem.
So the big portion of that is to allow us for them to be able to dispatch us on a closest unit basis. So if we have what we call a priority one call, structure fire, serious car accident, or like a CPR, it will grab the nearest unit and dispatch them regardless of jurisdictional boundary.
The last thing is that I learned, and this is not about fire, there are only 3 plate readers in Kitsap County. The plate readers that didn't we get there's only 3 in Kitsap County, and so do we have 1 in Bremerton? That's what she said, and I thought we had more plate readers.
Park has them.
No, they talked about on the police vehicle.
I don't know. We'd have to ask Chief Wolf.
That is it. Thank you for the grace on giving a long report, talking about some
Oh, it's fun.
heavy stuff.
Does
It's fun.
anybody else have any regional meetings that you went to? Okay, general business, go.
No, the original, that's.
No, we're
We're
done.
I
done.
do have another quick general business.
The, what is it, Kitsap Public Health District meeting happened yesterday, and I was watching that. It definitely has daytime hat was flaring up for
Yeah,
me as
yeah.
I'm watching this, and I'm actually seeing a program that I am a part of in HCA in some of the infographics that they had up.
Oh, that must have been weird.
My 2 lives.
Both your
are
worlds
touching,
merged at one
and
moment.
So if you were unfamiliar or anybody listening, St. Michael's decided to end 2 programs, one of which was the SANE program, which helps sexual assault survivors. And the second one is pediatric rehabilitation.
Right.
They're ending that in our area and have told families that they need to go elsewhere. So according to their bullet points that they had up the other day, it's 200 families that are affected as of like the 24th of this month. So it is very immediate. It is something, the only reason why I bring this up is because they also said that there will be further cuts. They're looking based on financial issues. And I just urge everybody to take a really, really close look at what's happening in that area, because if they're willing to start with those 2 programs, then I think everybody in society just goes, ooh, with both of those programs being cut, what's next in it, and knowing that some of the infographics that I saw, I immediately questioned and will be following up further. These are some large scale changes that are going to happen to our hospital here. And our hospital not only serves us as a community, but there's a lot of people on the other side of the peninsula that do depend on a lot of the services here, because the Olympic Medical Center may not, that's in Port Angeles, may not have those services. And then Jefferson Hospital may not have those same services as well, just because they're smaller. So these are things that are going to start affecting people. Very, very large.
You know, are those services available here, or are people gonna have to go to Seattle now?
They've been recommended to go to
Tacoma.
Tacoma, I think, was
and
the
I got
closest.
the list. If you're interested in it, I would be happy to send that to you, but just looking, I mean.
Was that
there's-
recorded so that can so
Yes.
Ann, you did record, okay?
I was gonna
Because I
say,
do want to watch
I
that.
watched the recording last night.
Mhm.
Yes, I was on vacation watching the recording, but
I do it too.
it's very, very troubling. And that was from the staff of St. Michael's was making that presentation.
And there is a local, like, loose knit organization forming.
Oh, yeah.
And I would encourage the public, you read about these things happening, and it might not impact your family right now, but healthcare has been changing. It is going to continue to change and probably not in a good direction for a while. So let's get involved in our local efforts. There are a lot of people who have collectively been looking at this and advocating. I'm not remembering the group's name, but
They are having an event at the Silverdale Library
Yeah.
on April 13th.
that's great.
I had,
So
yes.
get involved. Let's
I'll
get
share that
involved and
flyer.
also learn more
Mhm.
about what's going on and why. Thank you.
So that would be the
Monday.
community meeting. Okay.
As long as though, public health was brought up, oh, I'm sorry, I
I had-
better wait my turn, yep.
I was gonna do a quick general business question for all
Okay.
y'all.
I just want to
Specific-
your time.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Michael, I'm looking at you because I don't know what the deal is with speaking of KPUD, or Kitsap Public Health District. I would like to make a change to our resolution to, instead of the Norm Dix government building, to be Bremerton City buildings.
Well, it's,
I saw the 12 flag flying somewhere,
oh, yeah.
maybe, and I thought, well, if the 12 flag could fly at these other buildings, why couldn't we fly the pride flag at our own buildings? We're a condo board.
It's not an instead of, it's an and,
And
because the condo board has made their own decision. The
Well,
city, at least for this building, the city decided, which was why they're presenting, but we could ask
I
or declare.
don't think it's
By
gonna,
resolution.
I think that we need to respect why they're so hesitant. That there's a lot of things happening and a lot of federal funding possibly at risk, maybe, but do you see what I'm saying, folks? Like, can we just take it off the plate of the condo board here and just put it in our own hands?
I think it's going this week, so let's give them a few more days.
Okay.
I think, honestly, it's the 19th. That's a Sunday, probably. So I think it's next week. So
If
let's see what Mike says.
it doesn't fly. Another dad joke, sorry. I just want to know where the other counselors are with us making a change to the resolution to be City of Bremerton buildings, because that shouldn't be as hard. I'm told we can do that.
isn't it something in the agreement between the condo or the association?
No, she's saying
I'm
she's
saying
saying to
other
do it at the
government
other.
buildings.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And
Like the Sheridan Community Center.
for instance, or other government buildings that are Bremerton,
Yeah,
instead of the condo board, because I recognize, and I'm over being upset about it. We're just in a critical time. And I still want us to show our pride, in whatever way we can. I'm gonna put that on everybody's radar.
general business. Public health, FIFA. I just heard this. I haven't looked at the meeting yet, but I heard that a question was asked about public health during FIFA, including hand washing stations. What with public health now being of concern around the country in various pockets, measles, a lot of communicable diseases. Should there be any? And I think as a council, we just need to, I don't believe there was an answer to that question. And that just makes me want to bring it up with council. We obviously, I think we're getting a safety, like a public safety grant thing coming through public safety for FIFA. Maybe we could bring it up then,
That was already
but
submitted, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's already been submitted.
Yeah, they're making determinations on what.
well, it might be that they're coming back for, we have to vote to accept it whenever. I noticed it's coming up on the agenda. So that's an opportunity to talk about it, certainly, but it piqued my interest enough to wonder, what's the plan for FIFA people? I've not really seen a plan or a budget or anything like that. And with the question about public health and hand washing, this is right around the corner. I think we just council needs to know what's going on
Well,
with this.
I didn't realize that we as council were going to have to appropriate any money to FIFA because we've already went through the LTAC where
Right.
money was given to the city and DBA and other entities. So I'm hoping that's the end of our
This is
financial.
something to bring up.
I think we could bring it up with DBA.
Yeah, I need a budget. I'm really worried that we have not budgeted for all of the FIFA expenses that we're going to be
We don't
facing.
have any money for it.
So I'm just putting it out
What
there. I
budget?
think we are, anytime anything related comes by, we need to be asking these
But
questions.
it's not our program.
When it comes before us, which is, if I had that agenda calendar, that contract's coming.
Well, the
And-
contract, yes. I mean, I know that
We don't
initial-
approve the contract until we have the budget,
until, yeah,
until we
there were
see what the
specific
plan
things
is.
that they were gonna buy.
But where does, if I'm gonna approve a budget, it's we ask this of our directors all the time. You know, I just, it's not a blank check. FIFA is not a blank check. And municipalities around the country are worried about FIFA and the financial impact. I'm a financial hawk, kinda. I've been concerned since day one about this. I've been asking for a plan. I've been asking for a budget, nothing. Now I've got public health concern. So council, we are responsible. And I just think if we have to wait till the opportunity presents itself, I think it's coming with the contract for.
Now, Chance, was it Public Works who submitted that grant application? Okay,
We have to provide a budget, basically to go back to granting authority,
mhm.
and we did that.
And that could be part of an overall budget for FIFA. Do you see what I mean? It could.
There's other money that legal DBA will be. I don't know.
So I think we just need to have a discussion about whose responsibility it is, because I understand what Jane's saying. It's not ours. You're saying it is ours. I don't know whose it is. Maybe it's Kitsap Public Health. Maybe it's their responsibility.
Yeah, that could be too.
I mean, maybe they
We'd
need
hate to
provide the
shut
hand
down
washing
FIFA.
thing. Well, I mean,
Okay, we have a couple more
Yeah.
things.
Oh, was that
We've-
one my outside?
We have some more things to get through tonight.
Okay.
All right, so remember to provide your top 3 preferences on your district photos and group photo
okay.
by this Friday. And so send them to Debbie and copy Ann, please. Don't forget to do your F1 form with public disclosure, and I can't get in there, so you have to call their help desk. Naval Base Kitsap Restoration Advisory Board Community Meeting will be on Thursday, April 30th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Kitsap Regional Library, Sylvan Way Branch. I myself plan on attending. You're welcome to RSVP directly or contact council staff to provide an RSVP on your behalf no later than Wednesday, April 29th, to indicate in-person or remote attendance via Teams.
Is that meeting about?
It's about basically stormwater restoration that they're gonna be doing because of what they're planning on doing over there.
Stuff,
Yeah, mitigation. They're
evergreen.
paying for your soul. Okay, so we have 2 executive sessions tonight.
Super fancy.
And I don't know why they have on that we have to gavel back in after each one. Why do we have to do that?
Are we taking action?
Okay. All right, so under item D1, the council will now meet for 10 minutes to discuss pending litigation as allowed under RCW 42.30.1101 I, and no action is anticipated. Under item D2, the council will now meet for 10 minutes to discuss potential litigation as allowed under RCW 42.30.1101I, and no action is anticipated. Be back in 10 minutes. I need two more people. I need two people to sit down so I can post the meeting.
Okay.
It's recording.
All right.
I call the meeting back to order. Oh, they missed
Yeah.
my gavel.
That was not the gavel you used
I
before.
I call the meeting back to order, and now I'm going to adjourn this study session. The next council meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 15th, starting at 5:30 PM in the first floor meeting chambers of the Norm Dix Government Center. The public is invited to attend in person or remotely. Meeting is adjourned.